Avalanche take on Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals, while Matt Barzal and the New York Islanders face off against Patrick Kane and the Chicago Blackhawks. ESPN Plus Hockey Night, presented by New Amsterdam Vodka. Avalanche Capitals at 7 Eastern on ESPN Plus. ESPN Hockey Night, presented by Expedia. Islanders Blackhawks at 8 Eastern on ESPN. Tuesday, all for hockey.
Tomorrow, it's Game 5 of the National League Division Series. Facing a must-win, the Dodgers survive and force a decisive Game 5 back in San Francisco. One game with a trip to the National League Championship on the line.
Mookie Betts, but just like that, Dodgers have doubled their lead 4-0.
Game 5 of the Dodgers and Giants. Coverage begins tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
WING 1410 Dayton.
Knock, knock. Happy Halloween.
Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He's stricken out.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, happy Wednesday. Welcome in. It is the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Minus Kev Nash today. I'm hanging out with you here, going solo today, hanging out with you for the next 3 hours. Again, happy Wednesday. Got a jam-packed show coming your way. Excited to talk about it. Of course, we're going to open up a little Major League Baseball playoff conversation because I do have a question about why so many people are complaining about all of the day baseball playoff games that we have had. We'll open up with that here in just a second. We'll get into some college football stuff. Fox Sports just 2 days ago had pushed out a poll about which team would you take right now as the state of Ohio. Right now, Ohio State has this arrogance about them that like we kind of scoff at Cincinnati. We kind of look at the Bearcats as this cute little storyline, like enjoy the spotlight. It's cute what they're doing. They just played 2 years ago. Ohio State shut them out. But the Fox put out the poll question: who would you take right now between Ohio State and Cincinnati? A very good chunk, a high percentage of people took Cincinnati over Ohio State, and of course that led to an uproar. Buckeye fans took offense to it. So we'll talk about that coming up around the corner. Browns, Bengals, all of that coming up. NFL Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz. I spoke with him earlier today. He will either join us in the 3 o'clock hour or we will have him in the first hour tomorrow for tomorrow's show. Right now, he's ironing out a couple errands that he's doing. So he said he'll either hang out with us coming up in the third hour, the 5 o'clock hour, or in the first hour of tomorrow. So we'll get to all that. We'll talk some baseball around the corner. So, Lamar Shelley says, Solo, I hope you took your blood pressure medication. Exactly. Like, we'll see how today goes. Let's see. It's at 3:02. I've made it 2 minutes in. Lamar, we're doing pretty good so far. So here's the deal. Let's open up with this. Again, Ohio State, Cincinnati. I was going to open up with some baseball talk, but I changed my mind. We're going to go right into this Ohio State football conversation. Jake Whiting right off the bat says Luke Fickell better than Ryan Day. Jake, I know you're a Bengals fan. Are you a Bearcat fan too? Are you not a Buckeye fan? I know you're a Florida fan, actually, so I guess that answers that question. But this is a very unique situation. The college football, not the playoff poll, but the AP poll was released earlier this week, and there's still a lot of strange things going on in this poll. There are 5. I mean, we all know that the SEC is like the conference, right? Like, that's why Oklahoma and Texas, the two faces of the Big 12, bolted their conference and joined the SEC. That means nothing big picture or small picture in regards to how the teams are performing this year. 10 Big Ten teams currently reside in the top 10 in the AP Top 25 poll that was released earlier this week. Iowa at number 2. That looks strange. In fact, when you look at the top 4, since the college football playoff era began back in 2014, it's every time you look up at the top, there's Alabama, there's Ohio State, there's Clemson, there's Georgia. Well, as we currently sit here right now, and usually Oklahoma in the mix too, to be fair to them, Georgia right now sitting up at number 1. We don't see them at number 1. That's usually Alabama's spot. Georgia usually comes in at a comfortable number 2. But there they are at number 1. They got 62 first place votes in the recent AP Top 25 poll. There you go. Iowa, it looks strange. I don't know what looks more strange, seeing Iowa at number 2 or the Bearcats at number 3. I think because I focus more on the Bearcats than I do Iowa as of late. I guess that it's for whatever reason the Bearcats just don't. It's not that strange to me to see them sitting at number 3 as much as it is strange for me to see the Iowa Hawkeyes sitting there at number 2. That's the program right now that's kind of shocked me more. I think coming into the season, everyone expected a lot out of the Bearcats. They returned a ton of seniors. They returned a star quarterback. They have a very good coach in Fickle. A lot of good talent on that defensive side of the ball. We saw what they did against Georgia in their bowl game to close out the 2020 season. There was actually more expectations for the Bearcats coming into this 2021 season than there were the Iowa Hawkeyes. So I think Iowa is a little bit more of a surprise as we currently sit here a month and a half into the season at the midway point in the month of October. But I see the Bearcats at number 3. I see Ohio State at number 6. I'm not surprised at all to see that Ohio State has a loss on the season. The arrogance of Buckeye fans to think that Oregon was not going to be a test. Like, I don't think anyone envisioned Ohio State to have the defensive flaws that they did, although I don't think it should have been that difficult to figure out. The defense was not very good last year, lost a lot of talent on that not so good defense. You put a lot of new and young faces in new places. I don't know why we expected anything different. Now, I did expect them to get better as the season has progressed. That is the case. But early on against Oregon, to sit here and act like Oregon was just going to be this gimme game, I thought that was very arrogant to Buckeye fans. So it doesn't surprise me, as we currently sit here at the halfway point in the month of October, to see Ohio State with the loss. But it is strange seeing them at number 6, and then to not only see Cincinnati ranked ahead of them, but Iowa ranked ahead of them. I think obviously we wouldn't be that unusual to see Penn State ranked above them, as Penn State and Ohio State have been the 2 top teams in the Big Ten for quite some time now. If you're just tuning in, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. But the question I have, Buckeye fans, is this: the Bearcats. Why did so many of you take offense to the poll that was released on Fox Sports about the Bearcats getting the majority of the vote, that they are better than Ohio State? Let's just be honest. But the Cincinnati right now has the best win of most teams sitting in the top 4 and the top 5 right now. They're undefeated. They're taking care of business. They have one of the top defenses in the country statistically. I'm not sold on stats in college football because I think that the range and talent in which programs face, I think it ranges too wide. I don't think you can get a true feel for how good or bad an offense or a defense is. I think sometimes common sense in college football should prevail. I was listening to Colin Cowherd's show earlier, and Joel Klatt. I'm a big fan of Joel Klatt. In fact, one of my favorite segments throughout the week on any sports radio program is Joel Klatt with Colin Cowherd. Very entertaining segment. But Joel Klatt constantly gets on Colin for being an elitist, for being a Big Ten snob, or for being the Power 5 snob, where, but I don't know why we label people like that. I don't know why we label people who look at the Power 5s and expect them to be better than the non-Power 5s. We try to make them feel dumb when really I think we're trying to convince ourselves something that's actually not true. I'm not saying it's impossible for Cincinnati to be better than some of these schools. Cincinnati already beat Notre Dame. They already beat Indiana. But let's be clear. We know that there's a huge disparity in the talent at the top of these Power 5 leagues and the top of the Power 5s. Okay, so by beating Indiana, it looks good on paper. They're able to hang their hat on the fact that they did beat a Power 5 school in the Hoosiers. But let's be honest, the perception of Indiana compared to the perception of Ohio State out of the Big Ten, it's not as if they're on the same level playing field. We like to phrase things to be able to help prop up a Cincinnati. We like to say that, the Bearcats, they beat a Power 5 team. Well, they beat Indiana. If Ohio State beats Indiana and they beat Rutgers and they beat Maryland, which they've already done, and they will beat Indiana coming up, we're not going to sit there and allow Ohio State to use a win against Indiana as a resume proper at the end of the season. But the Bearcats will rely on that win against Indiana as a resume proper when it's all said and done. It will be interesting to see how the committee truly is going to view the Bearcats moving forward, because they're a great story. And when you have human beings on the College Football Playoff Committee, which there's no other way to do it, they're going to get caught up in the emotional storylines of college football. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no way around it. They could sit there and tell you like that. That's even like in our legal system. I love, when it comes to the jury, don't pay attention to news clips. Don't pay attention to social media. Oh, okay. Okay. Like, you actually believe that truly works? Like, I know that there's supposed to be, a system in place to make sure that it works, but let's be honest. You can't just tell like when you tell me I have this weird thing, like if you tell me not to do something, I want to do that now. You can't tell me I can't do something because then I feel like, well, why can't I want to do that now? It's a very weird thing. That's kind of how it is with the jury and with the College Football Playoff Committee. Don't tell the College Football Playoff Committee that they can't look at Indiana, a Power 5 win, as a great win for the Bearcats, because then they're going to look at that and say, well, it's the Bearcats. They're a cute little story. They're sitting number 3 right now. It's a huge win. Is it? This is why I'm not a fan of the mindset of crushing people who have an elitist mindset. I don't believe it's an elitist mindset. I believe it's actually kind of common sense. I know you want to force the square peg in a round hole, being that the Bearcats are going to be a fun story come playoff time. But the build to the playoff for the Bearcats ends the second the game kicks off. Now, Joe Klatt used how Cincinnati kind of hung with Georgia, and I believe that, look, we've seen UCF hang with Auburn, beat Auburn. We've seen, the UCFs of the world get those wins after being snubbed from an undefeated season into the playoff. The Bearcats did it last year, undefeated, top 10 team. You can tell there was a ceiling. The committee wasn't willing to budge with them. I get it. But the question I have, Buckeye fans, is the majority of the country that voted on that poll said that Cincinnati, that the Bearcats are better than the Buckeyes. And I don't know if it's a bias because people don't like Ohio State. They don't like the arrogance of the Buckeye fans. And maybe they just voted for the Bearcats because it's a cute little fun storyline. Or maybe it's just as simple as, well, they are ranked higher. They are ranked higher. I mean, we always move the goalpost with how we want to win arguments about our team. If we're going to argue about, oh, man, I think Penn State's better than Ohio State. Oh, yeah? Who's ranked higher? Like, we'll use that logic to win an argument with the Penn State fan. But when a Bearcat fan tries to use that logic with us, we scoff at it. Why? 518-1410. I want to hear from Buckeye fans on this. I mean, how much do you look at the Bearcats as a threat? Do you truly believe that because the Bearcats are ranked higher than Ohio State in these polls, that they are better? And the reason I ask that is because there is no easy way to make these polls make any sense. It's all about talking points. It's all about talking points. I mean, as we currently sit here right now, yes, the polls reflect that Cincinnati is better than Ohio State. If the season ended today and we looked back at this season 20 years from now, we're going to say, oh, man, the Bearcats had a better team than Ohio State that year. But as we currently sit here in real time, do you truly believe the Bearcats are better than the Buckeyes? Because I kind of don't. I've fallen for the storyline of how cute the Cincinnati Bearcat storyline is. I would love to see them have a chance in the playoff. I would love to see the Bearcats. Can you imagine if somehow, some way, if enough dominoes fell for Ohio State and Cincinnati to somehow get in that 2 and 3 spot to play one another? Can you imagine? Can you imagine the Bearcats in a national championship game? Because if there was ever a year for the Bearcats to not only make the playoff, but get a win in the playoff, it's probably this year. I don't think Iowa is that dominant that it's unheard of to think that the Bearcats can get a win. I don't think it's unheard of with Ohio State's defensive flaws to think that Cincinnati can make a game of it with the Buckeyes. I don't think that that's going to be the case for Alabama, although Alabama's given up a ton of points as well. I don't know why more people don't bash on Alabama's defense more than what so happens with Ohio State. That's what cracks me up. They're giving up 20, 30 points a game. No one bats an eye. No one says a word. Ohio State does it, and it's, oh, man, this isn't Urban Meyer's Buckeyes anymore. Drives me nuts. But 518-1410, that's the number to call in and jump in on the conversation. I'll step away for a few moments as we load up the phone lines. I see the calls coming in now. I'm going to answer those and we'll get you on hold, and we're going to get to your calls on the other side. Plus, you can jump in on the chat section. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show, and let your opinions be heard in there as well. To reiterate the question once more, the perception that the Bearcats are better than Ohio State. How do you feel about that, Buckeye fans? Are you scoffing at that? Are you rolling your eyes? Bearcat fans, do you believe you're better than Ohio State? I want to hear. This is fun. Ohio State, I never thought in a million years would be competed with by another team in the state. There's no one in the state of Ohio that I think is even capable of being equipped enough to compete with Ohio State. But yet we're witnessing it. We're witnessing it, and it's happened quickly. Ohio State and the Bearcats just played 2 years ago. Ohio State won 41-0. And that's how quickly things have changed, because since that 41-0 win that Ohio State had against Cincinnati at the Shoe against Luke Fickell, the Bearcats have turned into a top 3 team in the country all of a sudden. That's an amazing storyline. Is it an amazing storyline, or is it an actual really good football team that the Bearcats have to compete with the likes of an Alabama, an Ohio State, a Georgia, and so on and so on. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. We'll be back in just a moment. 518-1410.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 75. Tonight will be mostly cloudy, a low near 66. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, a high near 85. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane, making buying propane easy since 1952, offering budget billing and pre-buy options. Find out more at culletpropane.com.
Ready for renovations? Arts Rental Equipment has the tools you need to make your home, lawn, and garden stand out this year. From brush chippers to cutoff saws, no job is too small or too big. Visit your local Arts store today. Work smart. Rent from Arts.
Help DEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 23rd. Visit DEATakeback.com.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. So 82% of you listening will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. 82% of you will note that if you're hiring, ZipRecruiter finds qualified people for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And 82% of you will remember that you can try ZipRecruiter for free, but you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hi, John Glazer here for Glazer Soft Water. We've been making water great since 1988, and no matter what your water issues, we have solutions. Your city water can be clear, but still be hard and have the taste and odor of chlorine. Well water can look, smell, and taste terrible. Glazer Soft Water will fix your water and will even include a 7-year parts and labor warranty so you don't have to worry. Visit our website to learn more at glazersoftwater.com. Glazer Water really is better water.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris, Ohio has immediate openings for second and third shift production associates. KTH promotes from within, offers medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage, starting at just over $19 per hour with annual increases. KTH will be hosting walk-in interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Please bring a resume and photo ID. Visit kth.net for more information. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
Hello, I'm Clerk of Court Rob Scott, serving Kettering, Centerville, Moraine, and Washington Township. From October 18th to October 29th, you can come to Kettering Municipal Court and pay off half your fines and costs, and the other half will be waived. There is nothing to fear. Come pay off half your fee.
This is brought to you by Rob Scott, Clerk of Court.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
This is the sound of a popular American motorcycle. It's the sound of freedom, the open road, really good times. And this is what it sounds like with a drunk guy in it. How do you like the sound of that? Cops are cracking down on drunk motorcycle riders. If you ride drunk, you will get caught and you will get arrested. Drunk riding. Over the limit, under arrest. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Transportation.
Give your sweetie the priceless gold box this year for Sweetest Day, or get a special pack box of those favorite pieces. Don't wait until the last minute. So come and visit us. Shop online at EstherPrice.com or contact any of the Esther Price Candy's 7 locations to place a curbside order for pickup. It only takes a minute to make that special someone smile when they see their gold box of their favorites. So don't forget and place your order today.
Do you have a home improvement project? Use the right tool for the job and rent from Arts Rental Equipment. Arts has the best selection from power washers and ladders to loaders and dump trailers. Work smart. Rent from Arts.
This flu season update is sponsored by Exergen. Vaccinated against COVID? Great. But don't forget the annual flu shot. Here's CBS News' Dr. Tara Narula on who's eligible to receive one.
It's recommended for anyone over the age of 6 months, those who are particularly vulnerable, kids, the elderly, pregnant women, and those with chronic health conditions.
Fever is the #1 COVID symptom, so be safe with an accurate thermometer. Only Exergen is proven accurate in more than 100 studies. Learn more at Exergen.com.
At CDW, we get modern servers need to be flexible, scalable, and predictable. I predicted you'd say that. Okay, what would I say next? Probably something about server security. Impressive and freaky. CDW can implement secure Hewlett-Packard Enterprise Gen 10 servers that improve speed and performance while reducing costs. See, predictable. IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. I predict a web address. CDW.com/HPE. I'm in your mind, man.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 23rd. Visit DEATakeback.com.
You want more local content from Dayton's ESPN radio station 1410 Wing AM? Make sure you subscribe to the WING 1410 Dayton YouTube channel, where you can watch all your local shows live or go back and rewatch previous episodes of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, the Keith Byers Show, Talking Out Loud with Sully, and more.
All right, welcome back. Justin Kinner with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM, the college football rankings, the AP Top 25. The Cincinnati Bearcats coming in at number 3. And again, it's just something so strange. I mean, between the Bearcats being at number 3 and the Iowa Hawkeyes at number 2, I don't think anyone in their right mind back in July, in the middle of the summer, would have predicted that, oh, yeah, I bet you in mid-October we're talking about the Bearcats at number 3, in Iowa at number 2. I mean, come on. Like, I don't think it's that surprising that Ohio State has a loss or that Alabama has a loss, but it's the teams. It's not even like Clemson being bad too. Like, we kind of figured some teams would take a step back. College football right now almost kind of all at the same time hit a reset button. I mean, it's strange when you think about the fact that Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa, and you look at all these star quarterbacks that all overlapped one another. They all exited college football pretty much all at the same time, which left C.J. Stroud at Ohio State, which left, you look at Alabama hitting the reset button with their quarterback and Young. You look at Clemson with Uyunglele, if I pronounce that correctly. I mean, like across the board, all of the top teams in college football, which can only go as far as your quarterback could take you. So with that being said, it doesn't surprise me that Alabama's a little vulnerable. New freshman quarterback. Doesn't surprise me that Ohio State was vulnerable to start the season. New freshman quarterback. Doesn't surprise me that Clemson took a step back. They lost a lot of defensive pieces, offensive line pieces, a lot of pieces to the draft. Like, that's going to happen. You're not always going to just reload and continue dominating as if nothing's happened, because this is one of those years, and Keith Byers has talked about this before, that you're going to get teams in the Big Ten that are going to be cyclical. Iowa is a cyclical program. They are number 3 in the country, or they are number 2 in the country right now. They may not be a top 25 team or a top 10 team again, probably for the next 2 or 3 years. So this is a result of an entire recruiting cycle coming together. You're getting the mixture of the seniors and the juniors who all have experience. Those seniors will move on. Now you kind of got to get a new cluster. They don't bring in top class after top class after top class. It has to be like a perfect storm for a program like Iowa or Purdue. You look at, the talent that Purdue had with Moore. I mean, they don't get those guys often. You don't get first round pick, NFL draft first round pick worthy guys often. But by the time that they become weapons that you can use them, look at Minnesota last year. I think Minnesota would be a lot better had their running back not gone out and injured for the season in the first game of the year against Ohio State, like that happened. But a lot of those programs, Minnesota, Purdue, Iowa, they're cyclical. You're about once every 4 years, you are going to get this magical run where they're going to have that opportunity. It's not like Ohio State that's there every year. It's not like Alabama that's there every year. It's not like Clemson that's there every year. I know Clemson's out of it this year, but I mean, come on, that surprises you. No one expected Clemson. And if you do say that you expected that, you just hate Dabo and whatever. I think too many people let their hatred for certain coaches and programs get in the way of common sense. It's not normal to see Clemson, drop this far back. It's not going to surprise me at all to see them back up at the top next year. I don't think anyone doubts that that'll be the case. But it's a cyclical thing. So This is the perfect storm for the Bearcats as well. I think the Bearcats are a similar program. The Bearcats would not be what they are right now if you didn't have that extra year of eligibility for a lot of these stars who took advantage of that extra year of eligibility. That's not watering down the success of the Bearcats. That's them capitalizing on it. It was the perfect storm. With COVID, I don't want to, make light of that, but, with COVID, it opened the door for that extra year of eligibility for these seniors. That closes the gap on talent. The Bearcats aren't more talented than Iowa. They're not more talented than Georgia. They're not more talented than Ohio State. They're not more talented than pretty much everyone there at the top. But what they are is senior-led. What they are is experience. We talk about this in college basketball all the time. College basketball, a lot of times, Kentucky probably, maybe not the last couple seasons, but more times than not, Kentucky is probably the most talented team in the country year in and year out. But what Kentucky, and that's because they're bringing in them true freshmen. They're bringing in, the true freshmen, the sophomores, all that fun stuff. They're the most talented. They're not the best team. And that's what happens a lot of times is a lot of times there's just not a balance. In college football, you usually have more balance within roster structures. Kentucky's hitting the reset button every year in basketball because they're just loading up on these one and done guys, spitting them to the league and hitting the reset button again the next year. Well, that's kind of what's going on this season to a certain extent. NFL or Bama lost a ton of talent. Ohio State lost a ton of talent. Clemson lost Trevor Lawrence, lost some key offensive linemen, lost some key pieces on defense. They're not the same. Now, usually the rosters are more balanced. Usually the quarterback is what glues everything together. If Justin Fields was still the quarterback of Ohio State right now, we're not talking about some of the offensive woes at the beginning of the season. But you were vulnerable at the beginning because you had C.J. Stroud, who is statistically a top quarterback in the country right now, a top 5 quarterback. But that wasn't the case to start the season. Remember how rattled he looked in the very first game on the road at Minnesota? Something I pointed at that made me a little weary of that Minnesota game. I didn't think Minnesota was going to beat them, but I said if there was going to be an upset, it has all the makings for it. Freshman. First start for the Buckeyes. Not even on your traditional Saturday against a bad team like Florida Atlantic, like Justin Fields got the pleasure of getting his debut for the Buckeyes with. No, you got Minnesota on the road at night, tough environment on a Thursday. There was nothing normal when it comes to trying to start that routine to the season. Everything was thrown off. Then you play Thursday. Then you're off Saturday. Then you get that extended amount of time off. And the reason that's significant is because, once again, that's not the normal flow of a season. It took Ohio State a few weeks to kind of get in the flow of things. That's why they lost. Clemson, they've lost early. New faces, new places. Those aren't excuses. It's common sense. The perfect storm for Luke Fickell and the Bearcats was to take advantage of Alabama, freshman quarterback. Clemson, technically first-year full-time starter quarterback in Uiagalelei. And then you look at Ohio State, freshman quarterback, first-year starting. So those 3 programs who have dominated college football since the beginning of the college football playoff era began, all of a sudden now they don't have that elite quarterback that made it look easy. We got spoiled with the Justin Fields of the world, the Trevor Lawrences of the world, the Tuas and the Mac Jones. That's not normal. The reason those guys are such a big talking point in college football is because of how great they were. C.J. Stroud's really, really good. Bryce Young's really, really good. Uiagalelei is really, really good. They're just not the Mac Jones. They're not the Justin Fields. They're not those guys yet. They'll eventually turn into that. But for right now, they're just warming up. And you could tell all 3 of those quarterbacks are better now than what they were 3 or 4, 5 weeks ago. The Cincinnati Bearcats, it's different. They're not developing a quarterback. They're not developing their offense. They're not developing their defense. They're all experienced. So the Bearcats' experience has closed the gap on the talent gap between them and the Buckeyes and everybody else. That's why they are where they're at. That's why they could beat Indiana. That's why they beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. That was one hell of a win. Not going to take anything away from them. But that's just how they're at this point. But they're not going to be tested the rest of the way. So the Bearcats did their job. They took care of the teams they were supposed to. They have to continue doing their job, beating the teams they're supposed to. They're a 21-point favorite as they welcome in UCF this weekend. Buckeyes have a bye. So I see Buckeye fans getting really rattled, really irritated with Bearcat fans who are chirping, we're better. Bearcat fans, they're saying that their team is better. The Bearcats are better. The Bearcats have a better quarterback. The Bearcats have a better defense. Do you? And do they? The Bearcats are in this because they have a really, really good defense. The Bearcats are in this because they have a really, really good quarterback. But I think you're kind of fooling yourself if you think that Ritter is better than C.J. Stroud. I can't back that up one bit. I don't think that anyone out there truly believes that, right? Like, does anyone actually believe that Ritter is better than CJ Stroud? Like, I don't know. Like, that's what I need to find out. But on the Facebook feed, Lamar Shelley, here you go. Perfect. I mean, literally could not have timed this more perfect. Lamar Shelley on Facebook says Cincinnati has a better quarterback and a better starting 11 on defense. Possibly. I mean, you got to understand, Indiana, they move the ball all up and down that great Bearcat defense. Indiana. I know that was a few weeks ago, but like Cincinnati is more of a finished product. Ohio State's going to keep getting better each week. Now, you can argue that the Bearcats will get better each week, but it's going to be hard to get better each week when you're going up against lesser and lesser and lesser competition. The Buckeyes have already had Oregon. All right, they already had to play at Minnesota. All right, they're going to have Penn State coming up. You're playing Indiana, but you're playing at Indiana under the lights, prime time. That's going to elevate Indiana's play a little bit. They have a much tougher task ahead of them. They have top 10 Michigan State, top 10 Michigan. They have all of these bigger games coming up. Who do the Bearcats have? Army? UCF, and UCF sounds bigger than what it actually is because of the success of UCF for the last couple of seasons, but it's not UCF that we've become accustomed to watching the last couple of years. This isn't Scott Frost led UCF. This UCF looks like Scott Frost, Nebraska. It's not that impressive. Their quarterbacks they're not the same right now. So I just don't know how much to make about this Bearcat team. I think they're going to be an interesting and fun storyline. I'm pulling for them the rest of the way. I really want it settled on the field. I would love a scenario, which is why I'm bummed that Ohio State has a loss, because I think Ohio State possibly could. Would Ohio State be the number one team had they beat Oregon? Like, Georgia slid right into that spot, and rightfully so. They beat Clemson to start the season. They have some good wins. They beat Arkansas, top 10 win, which I don't look at Arkansas as a true top 10 team, but it's a top 10 win on the resume of Georgia. Had Ohio State beat Oregon, would the Buckeyes be the number one team right now? I'm just curious. I still think there's a chance for Ohio State to jump back into that number one spot. It's going to take Georgia losing for that to happen. And Ohio State's going to have their shot against, Penn State coming up. I think that right now, if you really think about it, if let's say Georgia somehow slips up against Kentucky this weekend, all bets are off. Iowa will most likely move up to 1. Bearcats maybe 2. I don't know. I don't think that the Buckeyes immediately jump up there, but I think that the Buckeyes still have a chance to reach that number one spot if Georgia loses, because Georgia's remaining schedule is not that tough. They've already played the toughest part of their schedule. People always say it doesn't matter when you play teams. Yes, it does. You're talking about human beings on the committee that are making judgment decisions off of the now. They're making a decision based on how you looked this previous week. Now, they try to lie and feed you some BS about how, it's about the total body of work. It doesn't matter when you lose. That's baloney. Ohio State losing to Oregon didn't bother me because they lost in September. Who gives a rip? You have all of September, you have all of October, you have all of November. You beat Penn State, you beat Michigan, you beat Michigan State, you beat Indiana on the road. We'll forget about that Oregon loss. It'll pop up on the resume, on the playoff watch show and all that fun stuff. But that's not going to be held against them, because all the committee is going to remember is, oh yeah, CJ Stroud struggled early, but he has more passing yards than everyone else in the country. And by the way, Lamar said that Desmond Ritter is better than CJ Stroud. That's not true. Buckeye fans, let me ask you in the chat section, if you had a chance to get Ritter right now, if Desmond Ritter, if Ohio State could just reach over to the Bearcats roster and pluck him right now, would you take him over CJ Stroud? Let's flip that. Bearcat fans, if you could reach right over to the Buckeye roster and grab Stroud and have him be your quarterback, would you do it? You're a liar, because I know all of you probably just said, no, we wouldn't do that. You're a liar. CJ Stroud, and that doesn't mean Ritter's bad. Stroud's better. It's really not that hard. It's okay. Saying Stroud is better is not you saying that Ritter is not good. It just means that the guy that has 18 touchdowns 6 weeks into the season is better than Ritter. I don't think it's that outlandish to think that. I don't. Ron Broadstock on Facebook says CJ Stroud is a top 3 quarterback in the country according to the stats, number 1 in Power 5, and he missed a game. That's what's even crazier. The dude has 18 touchdowns, 1,700 passing yards, and he's missed a game. And he didn't even play the second half this past week, or the majority of the second half. He only played a few series in the second half. This is a dude that's missed a game and a half, almost 2 games combined with everyone sitting out. I'm just saying. Ron also says you think they'd be at 2. So if Ohio State had not lost to Oregon, do you believe they'd be a number 1 team in the country right now? Ron says he thinks they would be at 2. And I get that. The thing about, and everyone's talking about Georgia's defense, that's why they're number 1. There's not a perfect team out there. That's why this year's so fun. Alabama last year, they were the best team in the country defensively, and they were the best team in the country offensively. There was no doubt. There was no weakness. There was no weakness on that team. When you look at Ohio State this year, their offense is better than Georgia's offense. Georgia's defense is better than Ohio State's defense. So it would really come down to the committee saying, okay, what do we find that's most important? Georgia with the better defense, Ohio State with the better offense. But it doesn't matter. I'm wasting time talking about a scenario that doesn't exist. Ohio State has the loss, but that's how crazy this whole season has been with Alabama going down. It's opened up the door for so many other opportunities. But yeah, Bearcat fans, I get it. You're high on your quarterback. You love him. But to say that Ritter is better than Stroud is just not true. You're fooling yourself. And I think Luke Fickell would be lying if somehow this magical rule existed that he can reach over to Ohio State's roster and pluck CJ Stroud away. He would do it in a heartbeat. No questions asked. And by the way, ending up with Ritter that's not a bad consolation prize. It's not that bad. He's a very good quarterback. He's just not CJ Stroud. Nick on Facebook says, I would take the whole OSU quarterback room before Ritter. Yeah. Jack Miller. All right. Kyle McCord. Quinn Ewers. All of them. Keith Tolliver says, giving Minnesota a little help. What? Giving Minnesota a little too help, much love? You need to give me a little too help, much love on what you just said, Keith. Fix that and retype it. I didn't understand the word you just said. Gary Toole on Facebook says, I think Ritter is better right now. Stroud has a higher ceiling. Gary, what don't you like about Stroud right now? Like what is, right now, I think what people can't get out of their mind is that first half against Minnesota. Remember, a freshman making his debut on a Thursday night on the road at a Big Ten Minnesota's team that at the time with the healthy running back, that was a tough opponent. They had good guys, good weapons on defense. That first half against Minnesota and that game against Tulsa, people can't get that out of their mind. But if you look at him, since you take those two out, and I know it doesn't work that way, but work with me here, you take that out, and it's just been to the extreme, like how talented he is. Like I've been really baffled as to why so much criticism has been thrown his way. But Gary, you're not wrong. Like, again, I don't think the gap is that big, but I think it's big enough that I don't think Ritter makes Ohio State a better team right now. Chris on Facebook says, I don't think the jury is out with Stroud. He hasn't done anything against a good team yet. Also fair. But I think I think, Chris, the problem is that when they struggled against Tulsa, everyone was like, man, if Stroud can't compete against Tulsa, what is he going to do against Penn State? What is he going to do against these other teams? They've played bad teams since then, but the difference is he's annihilated those teams, and that's what you're supposed to do to them. But to be fair to Ritter, he's done that to those bad teams this year on top of doing that against Notre Dame. So that's a fair assessment, and I think that we'll get that answer here in a couple weeks, because if Stroud doesn't play well against Penn State, the jury's going to be back out on him as far as I'm concerned. David Shaw, I'm not a Buckeye, obviously, but I wouldn't switch. Gary Toole back on Facebook, so he answered. He says, inaccuracy down the field and seems to get flustered easily under pressure. Fair assessment. Young freshman quarterback, I think, kind of learning as he goes. But he just hasn't faced as much as that pressure when you have Akron and, when you have Rutgers and Maryland. So that's fair as far as that goes. I appreciate everyone jumping in and out of the chat. We're live on Facebook. Because I'm by myself today, it's not as easy to take these calls. So just letting you know now, jump in the chat section and be a part of the conversation. Head to Facebook, search The Justin Kinner Show. In fact, For everybody that likes the Justin Kinner Show page right now, everyone that already likes it, you are already in this drawing. The KISS will be at the Nutter Center this coming up Sunday night. Okay, we have a ton of tickets for this Sunday night at the Nutter Center, October 17th, 7:30 p.m. the show time. Again, it'll be KISS at the Nutter Center. I will be doing a drawing for these tickets from everyone that likes the show page, and everyone who's already previously liked it will be a part of that as well. So head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show page. I'll do 2 drawings. All right. The first drawing, I'll give away 2 pairs of tickets for the new subscribers to the Facebook page. The other 2 drawings will be for everybody included. Okay, so there is a perk to going to like the page right now, being a new subscriber to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. I will do 2 drawings for all of the new subscribers that have subscribed today until the end of the show. So get to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show page, give the show page a like, and I'll have a drawing by the end of the show, and I'll be reaching out to you on Facebook to let you know that you are the winner. But you have to go to the page now to like it if you already don't. And then the second drawing will be for everybody that is involved in the chat section and has already liked the page. So go take advantage of that. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Minus Kev Nash today. He'll be back tomorrow, but we'll step away for a few minutes. We'll continue this conversation. Good for the Bearcats. Good for them making this interesting. I still don't think they're better than Ohio State. But what we have a habit of doing is when we get in these arguments about who's better than whom, when we say that so-and-so is better than so-and-so, what we hear is the person that's better is good and the person that's not better is bad. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. I do not believe that the Bearcats are bad. I just don't believe that they're better than Ohio State. But to be fair, there's not a lot of teams that are, and there's still a lot of really good teams out there. What do you guys think? 518-1410. I could take a few calls. I could load those in during the commercial break. But all communication, head to Facebook, jump in the chat in the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Again, giving away KISS tickets live at the Nutter Center this Sunday night. The first 2 drawings will be for those new subscribers to the Facebook page. Get your behinds to the Facebook and like it. Everyone has a Facebook. All you got to do is like it, follow it, and have some fun. Let's go. I'll be back in just a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
From installing a smart garage door opener, to installing a bathroom faucet, to removing a tree, the Home Depot believes you can do anything, especially the things we have how-to guides for. Visit HomeDepot.com for thousands of tips, workshops, and ideas for projects, big and small. The Home Depot app, how doers get more done.
When you needed your mom, she was always there with the Vicks Vapor Rub. She used that soothing scent to calm you. And her mom used it to calm her. And her mom, well, you get the idea. Vicks Vapor Rub's always been there. It always made you feel better. And today, it still does. Bring back those childhood memories with the comfort and care only Vicks Vapor Rub can bring. Vicks Vapor Rub, family tradition for a reason.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
Hey, here to tell you about my friends at Cordell Transportation. They're now hiring Class A CDL drivers and offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, a $5,000 sign-on bonus, home daily, dedicated lanes, and no-touch freight. Brand new equipment as well, medical, dental, vision, and company-paid life insurance. Call Cody right now. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Hello, everyone. It's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Call me today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
If you are push mowing your yard using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at the Hustler Zero Turn Lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamped decks from big box stores. See Small Engine Service Pros and we'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle.
All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. Justin Kinner with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. You guys are killing me in the chat section right now. So head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show page, jump in on the conversation. Let's get right to the reactions here. So, and just a reminder, I see that Chad Kinster on Facebook says, can I unlike, then relike? Chad, no worries. The first drawing for the KISS tickets, KISS will be live at the Nutter Center this Sunday night. The first two drawings will be for all of those who are new to liking the page today. The second two drawings will be for everybody who has already liked it. So no one's being left out here. Okay, there's an incentive for those who come and like the page today, and then also for everyone who has already liked the show page, because I do appreciate everybody when we get tickets like this. I want to make sure we're giving everyone a fair shot at getting these, and I appreciate everyone who listens and hangs out with us on Facebook as well. Talking Bearcats, talking Buckeyes. It's fun to talk about. I never thought a team in the state of Ohio would be able to rival Ohio State, anything championship related, maybe storyline related, maybe you'd be a little bit, they'd be interesting. Cincinnati, the Bearcats could be interesting, or whatever, but the Bearcats are beyond interesting. They are a true threat to the Buckeyes, at least this year. I think that if Ohio State makes the playoff and the Bearcats make the playoff, that's unfortunate for Cincinnati because they'll still be underlooked. Can you imagine if the Bearcats make the playoff and the Buckeyes don't? The Bearcats get to say, they were the best college football team in the state of Ohio. You can nitpick that. We can nitpick that today. But imagine 15, 20 years from now, we'll look back at the history of the college football playoff and say, wow, the Bearcats made it in 2021 and the Buckeyes didn't. Wow, the Bearcats are better than Ohio State that year. That's how it will be perceived down the road. It may not be perceived that way right now because of this. So Clifford on Facebook, he seems a little upset. He says, Clifford says, Justin Kinner, you just don't like the Hoosier type storylines. The Mickey Mouse could play for Ohio State. You would say that he's better than any quarterback in college. Well, 5-star Mickey Mouse or, no one interested in Desmond Ritter type Mickey Mouse. What are we talking about here? Look, Clifford, let me ask. And then he goes on to say, let me make sure I finish this part because he goes, if you're not, Clifford saying about me, if you're not in the Power 5 conference, Kinner will not give you any credit. I'll give you credit, but I'm not going to give you credit and hold you to the same level that I'm going to hold in Alabama and Ohio State and others too. Ohio State and Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and others have worked too damn hard to get to where they're at to have one team have one Cinderella. You talk about Mickey Mouse. Let's talk about Cinderella. This ain't a Mickey Mouse story. This is a Cinderella story. We all know that Cinderella at some point, it won't be Cinderella anymore. Ohio State is a constant. Bama's a constant. Clemson's a constant. I know Clemson's out of it this year, but Clemson's not out anything. Their program hasn't regressed. It's part of transitioning from. You had one of the best quarterbacks in the history of college football in Trevor Lawrence. Of course, there's going to be some slippage as you lost a ton of players on both sides of the ball. Bama already has lost this year. I know that's unprecedented, but it's part of the transition of losing so much talent. Even Nick Saban's going to have a bump in the road like they just had this past Saturday. So Clifford says he's like, if you're not in the Power 5 conference, Kinner will not give you any credit. That's not necessarily true. I don't even give some of the programs in the Power 5 credit. I don't believe Rutgers should be a Power 5 program. I don't think Maryland, football-wise, has done enough to deserve being in that conversation. There is too many teams that don't deserve to be Power 5 in these Power 5 conferences, and it's done for TV deals. It's done for a lot of this. Now, Clifford says, if you're not in a Power 5 conference, I won't give you any credit. Let me ask you something, Clifford. If the Springfield Wildcats this year, Mo Douglas has a kick-ass team, man. I'm telling you, that team from top to bottom, the offense, defense, they're just fun to watch. We're going to watch them We're going to call the game this Friday. Keith Byers and I for our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week. Springfield will be at Miamisburg. We'll be on the call for that. Let me ask you something. Let's say the polls keep coming out every week, and Springfield's number 1 in the state of Ohio. Let's say that Springfield only played JV teams. Let's say that Springfield every Friday night, while Centerville and Northmont and Miamisburg and Springboro and Trotwood, and it's not just GWAC schools, but those are the teams on the tip of my tongue right now, and Alter and everyone. Let's say that those high school teams only played JV teams, and they annihilate those JV teams. And then the polls come out, and they show that Springfield's number 1. Would you not say that, hey, that's not really fair? They play JV teams. Wouldn't you have a problem with that? Like, wouldn't you say that, oh man, they're not playing, while Centerville's having to play Fairmont and they're having to play, all these top teams. You mean to tell me that it's okay for them to make the playoff and be the number 1 team in the state because they went undefeated playing a bunch of JV teams, while Centerville has a couple losses because they played D1 teams. They played a really tough schedule. That wouldn't be fair, right? No, because common sense tells you that everyone should be playing the same level of competition. And if you're not playing the same level of competition, it's kind of hard to gauge who is better. It's kind of hard to get a fair assessment. So because of that, because of the fact that, yes, I hate when elitists have to over-explain themselves as if they're crazy for thinking that the schools that are bigger, that are faster, that are stronger, that have more money, that have bigger facilities, I don't think it's that crazy to have the mindset of, yeah, they're better. In fact, I can't even believe I'm having to defend myself on that. That might be lazy thinking on my part, but that's because it's the easiest solution. Why overthink it? Why sit here and say, oh, the Bearcats are definitely better than Alabama? Alabama, who even at 2-3, Texas A&M, that's still better than pretty much all. But Texas A&M is better than every team on the schedule that the Cincinnati Bearcats face, except maybe Notre Dame. Maybe. I still think Texas A&M beats Notre Dame, but that's besides me. Alabama trips up because they have to play at Texas A&M. You're playing Army. You're playing Tulsa. You're playing these bad teams. Like, I don't know what to tell. I don't know how to say that without coming across as elitist, but I don't even know why we have that term elitist as if we're some crazy person for thinking that, oh my gosh, the team that doesn't play anybody and the team that plays somebody every week, to me is more deserving of that. So Clifford says, you and Skinner used to argue all the time. Schlemmer. You and Schlemmer used to argue all the time about some of these teams in the NCAA tournament basketball, that small schools, you said you never wanted to see those teams in the Final Four. I don't think anyone does. Look, for me, if Wright State University, if the Raiders ever made an Elite Eight or a Final Four run, I would be elated. I would be excited. You think people in New York are rushing to their TV screen to watch the Wright State Raiders? No, they're not. They're not. When the Rams made their run to the Final Four, if we didn't have the Dayton Flyers in this city, playing in the same conference as them and we didn't have familiarity with them, do you think we would give a rip about VCU being in the no, we wouldn't. We wouldn't. Loyola, you know why? I mean, Loyola making the Final Four run, you know how uninteresting they were? The most interesting thing about Loyola's Final Four run was Sister Jean. That's it. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, no one cares about the small schools. No one cares. And no one truly wants to see that. We would be fine with the Bearcats making it. It'll be appointment television for me. I will make sure I am there to watch the Bearcats. But I promise you, across the board, whatever slot the Bearcats fall in, no one's watching that. No one cares. At least a bad Oklahoma team that you know is going to get drilled has the brand. They have the they have the draw. It's Oklahoma. People in LA care about the Bearcats? No, they don't. I don't think I'm that crazy for thinking that. You're thinking with your heart and not your brain. And I'm not calling you dumb. That sounds like I'm calling you dumb. Clifford, you've been a long-time listener. I'm not insulting you. So that sounded rude. So I'll apologize. So I'm just like, you're thinking, I don't think you're thinking with, I don't think you're being rational. I just feel like, bigger, stronger, faster. Ohio State plays Cincinnati. Ohio State athletes, bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. Oh, that's an elitist mindset, or it's common sense. Bigger, faster, stronger. Bama, Cincinnati. Bama's bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. Iowa, actually, bigger, stronger. Of course, Iowa guys are stronger, but possibly faster. I don't know, but bigger and stronger for sure. But that's not what the playoff comes down to. The playoff is about the resume. Because if it really did come down to bigger, stronger, faster, the Bearcats wouldn't have a shot no matter what. But because of the resume, they have a shot. That old lady. I said Sister Jean. I didn't say she was an old lady. Steve Stetler on Facebook says, hypothetically speaking, if the Bearcats are one of what I believe will be the 2 undefeated teams that will be left at the end of the year, will the committee select them with all that really good one-loss Power 5 teams? That's the big question moving forward. And I think that, Steve, you know how I know we'll have that answer? We're going to have that answer come the very first college football playoff poll. Bearcat fans, you're not going to have to wait to December to find out if you're a playoff team in the eyes of the committee. You want to know when you're going to find out if you're a playoff team? Here in 2 weeks when the first college football playoff poll is revealed. Because the Bearcats' resume is not getting any better. The Buckeyes' resume will only continue to get better, but it won't be great here. I guess they would have the Penn State win, but my point is as of right now, the Bearcats' resume is better than 95% of the teams in college football. Here in about 2 weeks, their resume will still, assuming they're undefeated, they will still be better than 85% of the rest of the college football playoff field. So, if they can't get in, if they are not one of the top 4 teams, according to the committee here in 2 weeks, they have a 0% chance of being in here in 7 weeks. So you don't have to wait to December. I promise you, we will not be arguing. My answer will be given here in a few weeks. If the Bearcats are not one of the final 4 teams in the very first college football playoff poll that comes out. And I love when people say that the first one doesn't matter. The first one doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't, but it does for Cincinnati, because here's why. If the Bearcats are undefeated and they have wins at Notre Dame and at Indiana, if they have those wins already tucked under their belt and they're undefeated and they're blowing all these bad opponents out, if they have all of that and they're still left out of the playoff Final Four, they don't have a chance. Because if all of that's not good enough to get you in now, while Ohio State has a loss and Bama has a loss and all these other schools have a loss, what makes you think that the Bearcats' strength of resume is going to get any better moving forward? Because the Bearcats can't improve their resume moving forward. Ohio State can. They got Penn State. They got Michigan. They got Michigan State. They got the Big Ten championship game, which will most likely be an undefeated top 4 team in Iowa come December 4th, December 5th, whenever the Big Ten championship game is. The Bearcats might have a 2 or 3 loss UCF team. I don't know. So I do believe, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, so hear me out. I believe the Bearcats should be a playoff team. but I also can see why they're not a playoff team, because it's really it comes down to fairness. And this was never set up to be fair for non-Power 5 schools. Common sense. I love when people are like, well, it's not fair to Cincinnati. Well, why are we worried about Cincinnati? How come we're not worried about the MAC? At what point, at what conference do we look at and say, you don't matter? It's because by saying that it's not fair for Cincinnati, I think that's even more disrespectful to MAC schools. I think, to sit there and make an exception for Cincinnati just because they're a fun storyline, but yet the same common sense you're mad at me for using for why the Bearcats shouldn't be considered over teams like one-loss Ohio State and others is the same logic you use for why Bowling Green and Miami of Ohio shouldn't be considered. If an undefeated Bowling Green or an undefeated Ohio U is sitting there at the end of the year as conference champions, how come they're not considered? Oh, Kenner, come on. They're not as good as the Bearcats and the other two. Well, how? They're undefeated? That's your logic for why the Bearcats should be in. Oh, well, the MAC, they didn't beat anybody. They didn't play anybody. Tulsa. Yeah. Army. Mm-hmm. You 2-loss UCF. Bring it on, baby. Stop. I'm not being that crazy here. Like, I shouldn't have to over-explain this. It's kind of crazy to me that so many people aren't buying into that. Eric Acker says, longtime listener, first-time follower. Did I do it correctly? Go Blue. You did it just fine. You are in the running to win these KISS tickets, Eric. I'll be doing the drawing here coming up in hour number 3. Steve Stetler says, but you don't think the committee at some point will select a non-Power 5 team just to shut all the people up that say non-Power 5s deserve a shot? I think if the committee would be disrespecting, if the committee gave a pity selection, that's disrespectful to the entire playoff. It's not disrespectful to the Bearcats to keep them out. Like, we can't move the goalpost to spare someone's feelings. I believe they should be in, but I also am looking at the system and saying, I don't know what they're going to do. If the Bearcats make it because of a pity selection, I think that's disrespectful to the competitive nature of the college football playoff. But if they make it because they're legitimately that good and the playoff committee believes that, okay. All right, folks, I'll step away for a few moments. Hour number 1 flew by. I appreciate all the interaction in the chat section. Keep it coming. If you're just tuning in, I have KISS tickets at the Nutter Center this Friday night. I'm showing them to you right now on the camera here. We're live on Facebook. All of the new subscribers to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page today will be entered into a drawing in the 5 o'clock hour exclusively for the new subscribers and new followers, okay? Today. There will be a second drawing for everybody, okay? I'm not punishing those who already have to deal with me every day from 3 to 6 and have followed the show. There's just going to be a separate drawing for everybody who's already followed the page, and then there will be a drawing for those who have just liked the page. So get to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, like and follow the page, and be a part of the conversation there. I'll be doing that drawing coming up. Again, KISS at the Nutter Center. So KISS was supposed to be at the Nutter Center back on September 2nd. COVID pushed that back, and they'll be at the Nutter Center this Sunday night, 7:30 p.m., the start time. All right, folks, hour number 2 coming up around the corner. Real quick, Chad Kinser on Facebook says, expanded playoffs will end that. All conference champions are in the playoffs, my opinion. And Chad, well, what's the goal of the playoff? Is the goal of the playoff to give a fair shot to everybody, or is the goal of the playoff to get the best teams in? Look at the MAC. Look at the ACC. Clemson might have another loss by the time it's all said and done. If they're ACC champions, do they really deserve to be in the playoff just because they won the conference? Look at the Pac-12. Everyone has 2-3 losses right now. Those guys deserve to be in the playoff just because they won their conference championship and they didn't do any of the groundwork during the regular season. I'm not saying you're wrong, but my view on the playoff is it's supposed to be about the best teams in the country. And I don't believe you're getting the best teams in the country by giving the bids to just the conference champions. And you say, oh, well, college basketball, that's what they do. College basketball has 68 teams that make it. And if you think that expanding it to 12 makes it more fair, it doesn't, because there will always be those teams who just miss out. There'll always be teams who are just as undeserving of being in the playoff as the undeserving teams in the 12-team playoff. So we'll continuously move that back. Keep them coming. We'll continue to read your responses when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Your life, your hopes, your passions. These things are none of our business. Your baby monitor research. If you're using too much diaper cream, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m., that's really none of our business. Because your life is private. And unlike other tech companies, we think your internet should be too. Aw, how old are they? That's none of our business either. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Napa know-how. At Napa, buy a 5-quart jug of Mobil 1 motor oil and save $10 on a pair of wiper blades. It's the perfect autumn deal. Mobil 1 for colder weather, new wipers for the rain, and an extra $10 to buy Halloween candy you'll most likely eat yourself. We're not judging. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating locations, does not include taxes and fees. Advertised sale price not available in some states. Ends 10/31/21.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Time for an oil change? We've got what you need to check it off your list. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life High Mileage Motor Oil and an STP oil filter, plus an STP air filter or cabin air filter, all for just $35.99. And you can get it all fast, your way. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
5G is here, but the big carriers want you to sign a pricey long-term contract to get in on the action. Well, no more, because Straight Talk Wireless has rolled out 5G coverage nationwide, with plans starting at just $35 a month with no contract. And get a Samsung Galaxy A32 5G for only $299, all on America's best networks. 5G coverage, 5G phones, less money. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. 5G capable device required, actual availability, coverage, and speed may vary.
Sip and save at Circle K. Enjoy one coffee or fountain drink every day for only $5.99 a month. Sign up in store.
There's a lot of confusion about how to protect yourself from COVID, with guidelines and regulations changing by the week. One thing is certain, you need an accurate thermometer for your family to check for fever, the leading sign of flu and COVID. Only the Exergen Temporal Scanner thermometer has been proven accurate in more than 100 clinical studies. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers. They have no scientific studies behind them and can miss the fever that might mean COVID. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Exergen is changing the way the world takes temperature.
Hello, everyone. It's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy houses as is, fast for cash. Call me today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties, and we can close within days at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. I'm a private real estate investor who can solve your real estate problems fast for cash. Do you want to sell and just be done with it? Okay, great. I buy vacant properties, boarded up houses, pre-foreclosures, and inherited properties. I also buy apartment buildings, rental portfolios, divorce homes. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. I look forward to solving your real estate problems today. Call me today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Frickin' football is here. Frickers has the games on all the screens and you score with savings. Enjoy your favorite ice-cold domestic draft personal pictures for only $6.50. A 48-ounce personal picture for only $6.50. And enjoy a plate of your favorite frickin' nachos for just $7. Take your frickin' pick. Frickin' chicken nachos, Mississippi barbecue nachos, or Nacho Supreme, only $7. This season, don't just be a football fan, be a Nacho fan. At the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Hi, this is Eddie Sorrell, Service Manager, Germain Honda of Beaver Creek. When you need service, we're here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 6 to 8 and Saturdays from 7 to 5. We proudly offer a state-of-the-art facility with factory-trained technicians, clean waiting room, and service department. Loaner cars are available during service and free alignment checks with any service. Be sure to stop in and ask for our $39.95 oil change special. Germain Honda of Beaver Creek, State Route 35, east of 675, between Xenia and Beaver Creek.
Help DEA keep our community safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, October 23rd. Visit DEATakeback.com.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local.
What are you gonna miss? He struck him up.
We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
All right, we are back, hour 2. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Mine is Kev Nash today. Kev Nash will return to the show tomorrow. So we're talking Cincinnati, Ohio State. We're about to move on from that, but I just wanted to get back to some of the Facebook reactions. Nick on Facebook says, if UC goes undefeated and puts Notre Dame and Indiana on their schedule, the playoff will expand. That's a fact, but Nick, you're missing the point. The Bearcats do have to work harder to make the playoff than the Power Fives. The reason is because, and I shouldn't even say have to work harder. The Bearcats have to work. They have to do way more in the non-conference than the Power Fives do, because the Power Fives do their full body of work in the regular season in conference play, to where the Bearcats, their season is actually only 3 to 4 weeks long. If they want to be taken serious as a playoff, and good for them, the Bearcats are going to be a Big 12 team here soon, and then they don't have to worry about this anymore. But as of right now, the Bearcats, they have to load up their non-conference. They have to have a Notre Dame and Indiana. You might want to put a Purdue in there. You might want to put a Texas A&M. You might want to. You have to keep loading it up. You can't play 2 real games while Ohio State's playing Oregon on top of Penn State, on top of Michigan State, on top of Penn State, Michigan, on top of Iowa, and everybody else. That can't. That just tells you, common sense tells you that it's not a flawed playoff system. It's just checks and balances. So Cincinnati, they have Indiana, a win that we won't even give Ohio State credit for, but we're supposed to use that to give credit to Cincinnati. I don't get that. Notre Dame is the only leg they have to stand on, the Bearcats, because even if they were a Power Five school, they would get their opportunity because they would play, let's say in the Big 12, you would have your Texas and Oklahomas and your Oklahoma States, and you would have those schools as currently constructed. You would get those teams to build your resume. You wouldn't have to do much in the non-con because all your work will be done in conference. Cincinnati has to load up their non-conference with one of those games. To load it up is a game that we won't even give Ohio State credit for. They play Indiana in 2 weeks. They have a bye this Saturday. So when they play Indiana in 2 weeks, and let's say they beat them by 30, no one's going to say, if you didn't think the Buckeyes were a playoff team before, this win proves. No, it's Indiana. They're supposed to. Like, we were kind of on the fence. And by the way, they didn't really. They went toe for toe with Indiana. So if they go toe for toe with Indiana, like the Bearcats did, we're like, oh man, good for Cincinnati. That's good for the Bearcats. If Ohio State goes toe for toe with Indiana and narrowly wins, we're going to be saying, oh man, how do you barely beat Indiana? These aren't my rules. This is just common sense with football. I don't know. And the playoff was never built to be fair, because there is no fair playoff out there. Everyone's like, well, the 4 team's not fair. Well, either is a 12 team. Either is a 12 team. So, every conference champion gets in, and there you go. That's not fair either, because there'll be the third place SEC team that's still better than probably the Pac-12 champion. The third place SEC team is better. Even Texas A&M, 2-3, better than what the conference champion would be for the ACC or the Pac-12 as we currently sit here today. And you can argue that Texas A&M would probably win the Big 12 this year. And that's even with those 2 losses that they have. They wouldn't have those same 2 losses, obviously, if they're in the Big 12. But Texas A&M's loaded. That's why that's why they're disappointing. They've been disappointing this season. But the reason they get the benefit of the doubt, well, when you play in the SEC, you're going to pick up some losses that you probably wouldn't pick up if you played elsewhere. And why is that? Because you're playing better competition. We'll see. Yeah. So Willie, when you talk about what's fair and not, Willie says fair is a place where they judge pigs. Funny, but true. He's not wrong. Doug Toby says they also need some help from the Power Fives. One of them lose 2 games or have a bad loss. I agree. Look, the bottom line is the thing that Cincinnati has going for them that they haven't had in years past and that the UCF hasn't had in years past, they have a chance. UCF never had a chance. They never had a chance. UCF, undefeated, pummeling teams by 30. They never had a chance because they didn't have any big non-conference wins. And on top of that, everyone that was in front of them was a dominant Bama team, a dominant Buckeye team, a dominant Clemson team, a dominant Georgia team. You had Oklahoma. That's why, the one thing that the Bearcats have for them, and I don't know, is this Bearcat team better than that undefeated UCF team during that run? I would love to see that matchup. Obviously you can't. I don't know. But I do know this. It's all about the landscape of the college football playoff right now and not how many teams get in, but it's what are the other teams' resumes like. UCF ran into a buzzsaw because there was no team you were more worthy than Oklahoma that year and Ohio State that year and Georgia and Alabama. None. You just don't play the kind of competition that they do to warrant being put in the same category. The Bearcats this year, let's say Alabama was still undefeated. Let's say Ohio State was still undefeated. Let's say Clemson was still undefeated. That means they would have a 0% chance because the playoff format right now would have said, okay, if Clemson was still undefeated, if Bama was still undefeated and Ohio State was still undefeated, 3 of the 4 spots are already taken up. And if Georgia at this point, their only loss would have been to Clemson at the beginning of the season, Georgia is probably holding on to that 4th spot, or undefeated Oklahoma out of the Big 12, who's racked up quite a few top 25 wins. If college football lays out the way it's supposed to, Cincinnati doesn't have a shot to get in. Cincinnati's not benefiting this year because they're better than what the UCF team was years ago. They're benefiting from the playoff right now because of the fact that Alabama's already gone down, that Clemson's gone down twice. Ohio State picked up an early season loss. So that's why, in the Pac-12 and ACC, they've eliminated themselves. The Big 12 is on the verge of eliminating themselves. So I think that, Cincinnati, they're doing what they're supposed to, but they're benefiting because of the situation at hand. They're getting a lot of breaks. Cincinnati's lucky. They're getting breaks that UCF didn't get. UCF had a loaded Buckeye, a loaded Bama, a loaded Clemson, a loaded Georgia. Baker Mayfield did. I believe that was the Baker team. No, that was the Kyler Murray Oklahoma team. UCF didn't stand a chance. There was no way. There was nothing they can do. And if Bama was as loaded as last year and the year before, and same thing with Clemson and same thing with Ohio State, Cincinnati wouldn't have a shot this year either. But there you go. All right, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. So, Major League Baseball playoffs, I want to transition into that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I am curious people's thoughts on this. I lightly brought this up yesterday. I noticed on social media a lot of people unhappy with Major League Baseball. Now, there are a lot of reasons to be upset with Major League Baseball. I think that they're fools. I think that when they talk about making the game better, they're trying to fix things that aren't broken, and the things that are broken, they're not trying to do anything about it. I think that baseball's biggest problem is they don't have any stars, and the stars that they do have are at home doing what you and I are doing, watching the playoffs. The fact that Mike Trout has only made the playoffs 1 time in his entire career, and it's not like Mike Trout's not buried in some small market like Cincinnati. Apparently, this is some small market that you just can't win in. I just don't understand. But it's not like Mike Trout is wasting his career in Cincinnati or Pittsburgh, not making the playoffs. He's in Los Angeles. You're in LA. How does statistically the best player of all time, now, I'm definitely not saying he's the best player of all time. His numbers are up there with the best of all time. You could literally do a top 3 of all time. I don't view it that way. His numbers tell a different story. But how do you have a guy that statistically is top 2, top 3 all time only make the playoff once? Shohei Ohtani put on the biggest show in all of sports this year. We got to see him on display for one game, and that was at the All-Star game. And the other time that we got to talk a lot about him was because Stephen A. Smith said that you couldn't have a guy that doesn't speak English be the face of a league. That's the only way we got to hear about Shohei Ohtani this year. A one-game All-Star break. A one-game All-Star game, and Stephen A. Smith saying something foolish about Shohei Ohtani. That's the only reason we got all that FaceTime with Shohei Ohtani this year. We should be getting FaceTime with Shohei Ohtani right now. We should be getting to see Mike Trout in these big high-leverage situations, and we're not. This isn't a small market, large market thing. That's my point, is it's not like he's buried in Cincinnati or Pittsburgh, and that's the easy, lazy narrative to say, oh, well, of course Mike Trout's not in the playoffs. He's playing in Pittsburgh or he's playing in Cincinnati. No, that's not it. He's playing in LA, and he's made the playoff once. That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. I think baseball, I think their star power is improving over the last couple of years, but those guys just aren't in the playoff. Now, baseball can't do anything about it. They can't do anything about that. You can't pick your teams. This isn't college football where you have a playoff committee that they get to pick who they want in the playoff and yada, yada. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, but let's be real. There's a lot of things that you can question Major League Baseball about. You want to talk about the, not allowing the players to have fun and show personality and yada, yada, all that. But that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is something that I think that baseball does a good job of, and that is the playoffs. The Cincinnati Reds, shocking, aren't in the playoffs. But if the Cincinnati Reds were in the playoffs, and let's say that they had a game that would have started at 2 o'clock today. For all of you who are at work right now, and by the way, if you are at work and you have my show on, thank you so much. I always wonder, I don't feel like I have a regular job. I'm very fortunate. But if I did have a regular job, I guess, I don't know if I would have time to listen to the radio during the day. And I don't know, I'm trying to figure out, a lot of my friends listen to the show during the day, so I always appreciate that. But I'm I just don't get how so many people out there have time to tune into the show every day. So I don't know how you guys do it. Thank you. I appreciate it. But I'm using that as an example as this. We're all busy. We all have our day-to-day responsibilities. But if something that we really like, whether it be wanting to listen to or watch, we find a way to fit it into our schedule. We find a way to fit it into our day-to-day. We don't say, and those who say I can't listen or can't watch because I am at work, okay, your work doesn't allow it. But obviously, there's a lot of people who are in that similar situation that if they can't make it to a playoff game or something, they're going to find a way to do it. If the Reds were in the playoffs and they played at 2 o'clock today, how many of you would say, can't go, I got to work? I do know that 40,000 Reds fans would find an excuse not to go into work. 40,000 fans would all of a sudden have COVID symptoms and not go into work that day, right? Everyone out there would find a way. 40,000 fans of the Cincinnati Reds would find a way out of work. I've seen way too many people complaining of all the things about in baseball to complain about. This is not one of them. Playoff day games. Weekday playoff games. I have no problem with it. I love it, actually. I love having the playoffs on in the background. Okay. I love having the playoffs on in the background. I watch the games no matter what time they are. I mean, if it fits into my schedule, fine. But the bottom line is if something is urgent, if it means something to you, you'll find a way to get it done. You'll find a way, whether it's tuning into this show or watching the Major League Baseball playoffs, watching your team in the playoffs, you'll find a way if you want it bad enough. And if you can't, there's going to be people who have a job that they just can't, and that's totally understandable. That's fine. But I'm watching these games that are sold out in the middle of the day, and I see so many people on social media saying, that's it, I'm done with baseball. I can't even watch the games as they're while the game's going on, they're taking time out of their day to tweet or put on Facebook how they just don't have time to watch these games. I'm like, okay, well, you seem pretty busy right now. Why are you mad that the playoffs are on during the day? Now, the playoffs, I believe the day playoff games are done moving forward. We already know that the Astros have advanced. They knocked out the White Sox, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals. They'll wrap up that 5-game series coming up later on. It'll either be the Dodgers or the Giants against the Braves. We're getting closer and closer to the World Series. But so many people complain about that, and I just don't get it. Why is it that you are bashing baseball for having playoff games on during the day? They're not doing anything different than what every other sport out there does. Now, football doesn't put playoffs on in the middle of the day, but they have a much shorter season. They play less amount of games. They have it, kind of shrunk down to a couple days a week that they've branded as their days and their time slots. They play during the day, on the weekends. That's it. But March Madness is the most popular postseason format out there. And you can argue that the entire March Madness, the NCAA tournament, the most entertaining days of the tournament are the first two, Thursday, Friday. Everybody is tuning in to all of the action on that Thursday and that Friday, the first 2 days of the NCAA tournament. I have never heard anyone ever say, you know what? I've never heard anyone say, I can't believe March Madness. They put this basketball tournament, their biggest games, they're on during the day. And people watch them. That's why these TV networks, they pay billions and billions of dollars to get these NCAA tournament games, because somebody's watching them. It's not just one post I saw. I literally started counting. I got up to like 25 different individuals between Facebook and Twitter alone. And that was just me, just after a while of noticing quite a few before I started counting, led me to that point. And I don't get it. If it's important to you, you'll watch it. If the Reds were in the playoffs, you would be there today. If they were on the road in the playoffs, you'd be at work right now watching it. You'd be at home watching it. You would find a way to watch it. There's no need to bash Major League Baseball for that. There's so many other great reasons to bash Major League Baseball. That's not one of them, folks. Like, I have no problem with Major League Baseball doing what they do when it comes to the playoffs. The playoff day games have gone back to when I was in high school. I've been out of high school for about, what year are we? 22. So about 14 years I've been out of high school. It's always been that way since I was a kid. And guess what? When I was in high school, I found ways to watch it. I remember being in college. I skipped class, back when the Reds were good. Although, I remember I would skip class to go watch the Reds in the playoffs because it meant something to me. I didn't stop to go watch the Braves or anybody else, but the Reds, my team, I went and watched. I didn't sit there and complain and say, gosh, I can't believe baseball puts on these day games. It's okay, cool. The Reds playing it too. Bam, I'm on it. I don't get it because the NCAA tournament comes around. No one complains about it. Baseball, everyone has a problem with it. Now, Chris on Facebook says, March Madness is one and done, though. But Chris, wouldn't you think that would be why more people should be mad that it's on during the day? If it's one and done, don't you think the NCAA tournament should run on Saturday, Sunday, so everyone can watch the majority of the teams? A lot of times, like a school. Chris, you'll appreciate this. Wright State, they're not a regular in the NCAA tournament. They make it on average of once a decade. Okay. So that one time every 10 years that Wright State makes the NCAA tournament, how many people can't go support them because they got to work? And that's a rare occurrence. UD, they're not strangers to the NCAA tournament. Oh, I can't, man, they play on Thursday at noon. I can't get off work. Oh, well, I'll watch them in the tournament next year. You know what I mean? So there's that aspect. There's that aspect of it. It's not that crazy. The Reds are kind of like Wright State a little bit, though. They make the playoffs. You don't know the next time they're going to make it again. That's the problem. But because it's one and done, you get that one chance to watch them, Chris. So to me, I think more basketball fans should be mad about the day NCAA tournament games, but everyone loves it. For baseball, you said it, Chris, it's a series. It's, oh man, the Reds play at 2:00 today. Oh, well, game one, I'll get to, they'll probably have game two at night. I'll be fine. So there's that way. Now, Chris goes on to say, I take Thursday and Friday off for every March Madness. I don't do that here. But we get to watch the games all day at work. I have the freedom to do that. But I do know when I was in college, I already knew what day of classes I was getting sick and not going. I already, when I was working early on, I already had my planned sick days ready to use for those days. So yeah, I'm with you. One of the traditions, I remember, we don't do this now with a lot of my friends all have married and having kids and stuff. But Chris, we all used to take off, me and about 3 or 4 buddies every year, March Madness, we would take off that Thursday, Friday. All of us lived in different states. Everyone would come together. We'd go to different, people's house every year to watch it. That was always my favorite tradition before everyone became losers, got married, and had kids. So thanks for ruining that to everybody. But there you go. But yeah, I just found that interesting again. But the playoffs have been really, really good. The Giants and the Dodgers, that's been a fun series. The winner of that will go on to face the Braves. The Red Sox and the Astros will play in the Division Championship Series coming up this Friday, and the American League Championship Series coming up this Friday. That'll be game one. But how about the Astros Red Reds fans. Dusty Baker, how's that going? I don't get it. Everyone hates Dusty Baker. I don't. I've always been a Dusty Baker fan. The reason I have a problem with why do so many people hate Dusty Baker? Oh, because he couldn't win with the Reds in the playoffs. He'd get them there, but he couldn't do anything with them. Why do we hold managers? Like, baseball's always a strange sport to me. Barry Bonds never won a World Series. We never use that to question his greatness. The cheating we use to question his greatness. But we never once said, well, how come he never won a World Series? He got to one. We never hold that against him. We never talk about Sammy. Of course, no one really talks about Sosa anymore. But at the time, Sosa was one of the best players in Major League Baseball. We never really held that against him. The all-time great, we never hold it against baseball players. Trout will go down as a Hall of Famer, one of the best of all time. He's made the playoff once in his entire career. It's like the playoffs in World Series, we don't hold the great players in baseball to that standard. But yet when we talk Michael Jordan and we talk LeBron James, it's, well, Michael Jordan's won 6, LeBron's won 4, MJ's better. It's as simple as that. Yeah, but LeBron does matter. Who cares that LeBron is a better rebounder, better passer, better scorer, has won the championship with 3 different teams? Who cares? Michael's won more. I think basketball fans are kind of dumb then because you guys really make it pretty narrow-minded and simple. MJ won more. He's better. It's like you don't want to think outside of that. Like it might hurt your brain to actually consider that the guy who is bigger, stronger, can pass better, can rebound better, can score more, is more durable, who's won championships with 3 different teams. I'm just like, it might just hurt you to actually consider that that's the case. But anyways, I'm getting off on a rant there. Let me get back into my lane here. The bottom line is when you look at it, we don't hold baseball players to the standard of, to be great, you got to win in the playoffs and you got to win a World Series. We don't hold players to that. So why do we hold Dusty Baker to that? Dusty Baker, literally, no matter where he goes, he's in the playoffs. Dusty Baker is the Mr. October of managers. He just lives in October. But whether it was the Nationals, whether it was the Reds, whether it was the Cubs, whether it was the Giants, now the Astros, all the dude does is win. Oh, well, look, he was handed a World Series. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Look at the Angels. They had Albert Pujols. They had Trout. They had Ohtani. Look at all the talent that they had. They couldn't do anything with it. They couldn't do anything. They haven't done anything with it. They spend so much money. They can't get there. Look at the Padres. They have all that talent. Talent doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot in Major League Baseball if you don't have the manager to push the right buttons. The Reds had a lot of talent this year. You had a returning to form Joey Votto mixed with an MVP candidate in Castellanos, with the Mike Moustakas, with the Eugenio Suarez. Look at the talent up and down that roster. Oh, well, Suarez didn't live up to the hype, and Moustakas couldn't stay healthy, and Winker got hurt down the stretch, and they didn't have pitching. And it doesn't matter. You think that the Astros didn't have all the reasons in the world not to be good this year? Every team that they face hates their guts. Every time they hit the road, they can't concentrate on baseball because they have to concentrate on making sure that their bus isn't being attacked on the way to games, that they're not being attacked on the way to games. Like, they live in a very scary world. Like, we could sit there and say, oh, good, they deserve it because of everything. Fine. But they don't live in the same baseball world that the Reds and everybody else do. They actually have stressful situations in their life. Not the Reds. The Reds don't even have fans show up to their damn games, and they were in the playoffs, in the playoff push deep into the regular season into August. So it just drives me nuts. The people that hate on Dusty Baker, I will never understand, because Dusty Baker has left the Reds. They haven't been the same since. He left technically the Nationals won the World Series after him. Bad example. Scratch that. I just shot myself in the foot with that one. But you see my point. The bottom line is Dusty Baker leaves Cincinnati. Haven't been the same since. I would kill for Dusty Baker to be the manager of the Reds right now. I will take Dusty Baker any day of the week over David Bell. There you go. All right, we'll be back in a moment. Again, we're live on Facebook. Coming up in hour number 3, I'll be doing a drawing. We have the KISS tickets. KISS will be live at the Nutter Center this coming up Friday. Excuse me, I got to fix that real quick. Okay. KISS will be at the Nutter Center this coming up Friday night, or Sunday night. They will be live at the Nutter Center this Sunday night. I'm giving away KISS tickets at the Nutter Center for this Sunday night show. All you have to do, for those of you listening that do not like the Facebook page, head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show page, and like it. I'll have 2 drawings, 2 separate drawings. The first drawing will be for 2 different winners. That drawing will be for all of the subscribers who have subscribed to the page today. All of the new subscribers that have jumped on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page today, I will take 2 winners. I will draw for 2 winners from that batch. The second drawing will be for everybody, regardless of when you started liking the page. So head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show page, jump on that opportunity right now. I'll be drawing for those winners coming up here in just about an hour. So head to Facebook, like the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, and be a part of the show. You could watch us every day from 3 to 6. I'm by myself today. Usually Kev Nash is here, as you guys know, but we're giving away these KISS tickets. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. You can also subscribe on YouTube as well, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Take advantage of that. Chad Kinster on Facebook says, amen, talking about the Dusty Baker stuff. Jake Mellon. Jake, I see you're not mad at me for the time being, so thank you. Jake Mellon says, spot on with the Dusty Baker stuff. Yeah, I just don't get the hate. Because the Reds aren't in it anymore, the Astros are my team right now, and I don't really care about all the cheating scandal, all that. I'm pulling for Dusty Baker because Dusty Baker winning a World Series would be the biggest middle finger to every Reds fan who wanted to run him out of here. And look what you've had since then. Brian Price in 500 David Bell, who couldn't even get the team to the playoffs this year with 3 separate MVP candidates: Nick Castellanos, Jesse Winker, Joey Votto. Now, technically, 2 of those 3 aren't necessarily in the MVP conversation, but Joey Votto's numbers right up there with his MVP caliber years. I mean, to see that guy at his age kind of go retro, to kind of go back in the day, good for him. Jesse Winker, couldn't stop him. Jesse Winker used to be, if a lefty was on the mound, you had to take him out of the lineup. He was hitting everybody. He was unstoppable. Castellanos, unstoppable. And David Bell couldn't win with that? That's lame. That's just too many excuses. That's bad. If the Angels are bad for not making it with Trout and Ohtani and others, then the Reds are bad for not making it with those 3 guys, because that's ridiculous. And the potential NL Rookie of the Year and Jonathan India. Let's not forget about his contributions. Way too many people stepped up this year for the Reds to be watching at home with the rest of us. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 75. Tonight will be mostly cloudy, a low near 66. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, a high near 85. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hey, Buckeye fans, as the official wing sponsor of your Ohio State Buckeyes, Roosters is giving away 12 trips for 2 to this year's Buckeye Bowl game. Each trip comes complete with airfare, hotel, gift bag, and 2 tickets to the big game. One bowl prize winner will be chosen each week, along with other cool Roosters weekly prizes. So register every week at roosterswings.com. Roosters, a fun casual joint, and the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. Official contest rules at roosterswings.com.
The whole goal is to point people to something bigger.
What if the news was different and covered more than one side of the story? Not just the who or the what, but the why. What if it took you closer?
It's information and people want it.
So you can make up your own mind. What if the news lets you think for yourself? Introducing a new point of view. Yours. Newsy. Watch Newsy free on your TV. Learn more at newsy.com.
Is your prostate waking you up more often than your alarm clock? The fact is, the older you get, the more likely you'll have prostate problems, which can affect your everyday life. That's where Prostate Complete by Real Health comes in. Prostate Complete is the result of 20 years of experience as a leader in men's health. The powerful formula in Prostate Complete supports natural prostate function and reduced urinary urges for a better quality of life. Available at Walmart. Visit prostateoneperday.com for special offers. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
There's a lot of confusion about how to protect yourself from COVID. With guidelines and regulations changing by the week, one thing is certain. You need an accurate thermometer for your family to check for fever, the leading sign of flu and COVID. Only the Exergen Temporal Scanner Thermometer has been proven accurate in more than 100 clinical studies. Don't rely on non-contact thermometers. They have no scientific studies behind them and can miss the fever that might mean COVID. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Exergen is changing the way the world takes temperature.
500,000 businesses connect using Zoom.
A single platform for video, phone, chat, and conference rooms. Zoom enables real-time collaboration no matter where your teams are. Global enterprises trust the easy-to-use, reliable, and secure Zoom platform to power high-performance teams. Empower your workforce with Zoom. Save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with a Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for their entry-level machinists. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages starting at $15 per hour and up to $18 per hour with prior experience. New hires are eligible for merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
Do you have standing water, a wet basement, or water in your heat ducts? Hi, this is Jeff Heil from Buckeye Landscaping and Ohio Irrigation and Drainage. At Ohio Irrigation, we have a solution to end your drainage problems. We provide a free custom design and estimate to meet the needs of your home and keep you worry-free when it rains. Call Buckeye Landscaping, Ohio Irrigation, 432-9911, or visit our website, buckeyeindohio.com. That's 432-9911. Stop worrying. Call for a free estimate today.
Now at Lowe's, order any flooring like Stainmaster Pet Protect carpet, starting at $185 per square foot. See in-store associate or product detail page for warranty information.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we're back. Justin Kinner with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Jeff on Facebook says, as soon as this computer loads here, the computer's going to die here any second, but spot on with Dusty. Give Dusty this year's team, and we are in. Jeff also says he wants those KISS tickets, and keep in mind, we're giving away KISS tickets. All new Facebook subscribers to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page today will be in a separate drawing to win tickets to see KISS live at the Nutter Center this coming up Sunday night. Again, it's the end of the road tour. KISS making their final tour. Make sure you have a chance to, give yourself a chance to win these free tickets to watch KISS in their final tour at the Nutter Center coming up this Sunday night. Everyone that has not liked the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page that likes it today will be in a separate drawing. We will draw for 2 other winners for everybody because I just want to make sure that I'm not alienating those who have already liked the show page. You will be a part of a separate drawing as well. And of course, appreciate everyone who leaves comments and interacts in the comment section on top of that. All right, so we're doing that giveaway. We'll step away for a few moments. We're going to talk Browns-Bengals coming up around the corner. I did find this interesting. Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow on, resting his voice. I've never heard of a throat contusion. He had that throat injury that required precautionary hospital visit in Cincinnati this past Sunday. Burrow did not meet with the media for his weekly news conference. According to the team, the Bengals medical staff advised that the second-year players speak as little as possible after he went to the hospital Sunday to be evaluated for a throat contusion. Folks, I don't know about you. I've never heard of a throat contusion. And then until Sunday, And then on Sunday, I hear about it twice. The Browns had a player, Cormoa, the linebacker for the Browns. He had the throat contusion, and so did Joe Burrow. I mean, Mike, I've never heard of that before. And then I hear about it from two separate players, but, Browns, Bengals all on the same day. I thought that was kind of strange. Sounds kind of scary, too. It sounds like the Bengals are very fortunate that they're going to have Joe Burrow back for this Sunday. I mean, that could have been multiple weeks he could have been out. So I'm glad that he's okay. It says that he is still expected to play Sunday against the Lions. Everything's going good, said Zach Taylor. We're just limiting what he has to say and how he's got to use his voice through today. Now, the urgency here is, keep in mind how loud Paul Brown, well, actually, they will be on the road on Sunday. But think about how loud you have to scream at the line of scrimmage, audibles, checkdowns, all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. Like, that's one reason that they're being so cautious with this. But wow, like I said, I've never heard of that until this past Sunday. And I heard about it in two separate occasions, two different players, two different teams. But glad Burrow's okay. And it sounds like he's going to be good to go for this coming up game against the Lions this Sunday night. We'll be back in a few moments. More of the Justin Kidder Show next. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
Frickin' football is here. Frickers has the games on all the screens, and you score with savings. Enjoy your favorite ice-cold domestic draft personal pitchers for only $6.50. A 48-ounce personal pitcher for only $6.50. And enjoy a plate of your favorite frickin' nachos for just $7. Take your frickin' pick. Frickin' chicken nachos, Mississippi barbecue nachos, or Nachos Supreme, only $7. This season, don't just be a football fan, be a Nacho fan. At the home for fun, food, sports, and spirits, Frickers.
In the Army National Guard, family means everything.
They really appreciate what she's done as a sister as well as a soldier and, supporting their country.
Our parents, they were really supportive that all 5 of us would join.
Family members that are soldiers in the Army National Guard inspire and influence, setting a path for others.
It's validating knowing that, I kind of did my part to make sure this is what they actually wanted and that they feel the same way I do. I'm really proud that we get to help shape the future, and I know that my sisters are going to be amazing soldiers.
Serving part-time in the Army National Guard instills pride that you and your family will share in.
A lot of pride, and they're just out there doing something every day and then serving their country as well.
I got my education because of the Guard. I got to travel a little bit and experience a whole different culture.
Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Ohio Army National Guard. Aired by the Ohio Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Find the right hire right now. Indeed helps you attract, screen, and interview quality candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
You wanted the best? Well, you got the best. The hottest band in the world. Cheers.
Kiss. The end of the road tour. One last kiss. This Sunday, Wright State's Nutter Center. Kiss on their final tour ever. Reserve seats on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. History will be made.
Call William Brockman & Sons Heating and Air Conditioning at 937-222-8638 for reliable Lennox products that can make the air in your home absolutely perfect. Ohio license number 14911.
When you needed your mom, she was always there with the Vicks VapoRub. She used that soothing scent to calm you. And her mom used it to calm her. And her mom, well, you get the idea. Vicks Vapor Rub's always been there. It always made you feel better. And today, it still does. Bring back those childhood memories with the comfort and care only Vicks Vapor Rub can bring. Vicks Vapor Rub, family tradition for a reason.
At Napa, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast, like same-day pickup or next-day delivery fast. At Napa, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits. That's Napa know-how. Same-day pickup and next-day delivery available at participating stores and on in-stock items only.
All right, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash. Actually, I don't know why I said Kev Nash. Kev Nash ain't here, but you get the point. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Giving away KISS tickets. You just heard the spot right there. Of course, KISS will be live at the Nutter Center coming up this Sunday night. It's the end of the road tour. We're giving away tickets here on the Justin Kinner Show. So to give yourself an opportunity, head to Facebook, like the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. All new subscribers to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page today will be entered into a drawing to win tickets. I'm going to be doing multiple drawings for the new subscribers, and then I'll do another drawing with multiple winners for those who have already liked the show page. So take advantage of that opportunity here today. All of the new subscribers of the show page today that like the show page today, you will be in your own drawing. And then I'll have a drawing separate for those who have already liked the show page. So take advantage of that. Get to Facebook. If you know friends that are KISS fans, urge them to go follow the page. Tag them in the comment section. I'll appreciate that as well. It's all about helping, for one, getting these tickets out to everybody, but helping spread the word of the Justin Kinner Show, getting the show out in front of as many people as possible. So help me out, would you? Share the show page, too. That would be greatly appreciated. All right, this coming up Friday night, College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and myself, we will be live at Miamisburg. The Vikings welcoming in the Springfield Wildcats this coming up Friday night. It's our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and I on the call like we are each and every Friday night. Week 9 of the high school football season officially kicks off this week. How about that? And then we wrap up the season next week, at least the regular season. And then the playoffs are here. My goodness, where is the time going? What a freaking fast season that we have had, I tell you that much. College basketball fans and NBA fans that love the Dayton Flyers, keep an eye out. Ibby Watson, former Dayton Flyer, just signed an NBA contract, of course, with the Atlanta Hawks. So keep an eye out for that. And then Jalen Crutcher signed a deal with the Charlotte Hornets. That was announced. Pretty cool right there. Again, you're just starting to see all these Flyers sprinkled in throughout the league, and you love to see more. Obviously, Obi Toppin, I mean, how much more involved is his role going to be this year with the New York Knicks? I was a little concerned. Kevin and I did an over-under a while back. I said over-under one more game that Obi Toppin plays for the New York Knicks. I said 0. I did not think he would be with this Knicks roster this year. I don't think Obi's a long-term Knick. I do believe at some point he will be traded, not because he's not good. I just, Coach Thibodeau last year, all that playing time, it's being absorbed already by their post players. I'm not saying Obi can't play. I'm just wondering, are we going to see him elsewhere? There was a potential talk of Colin Sexton with the Cavs being traded to the Knicks in the package that involved Obi Toppin. Selfishly, that would have been great to have a much closer drive to go see Obi Toppin play. I just don't know if that would have been better off for him. But nonetheless, between Obi Toppin and Jalen Crutcher and Ibby Watson, that's pretty dang cool right there. So hoping to get to see those guys get some minutes. I don't know how big of a contract it is for Crutcher and Ibby Watson. Will they actually see minutes? Is it one of those contracts where they're going to be, in the G League for some of the time? But either way, it's really cool seeing some of the local players get a chance in the league. Speaking of that, Wright State University's Loudon Love, or former Wright State Raider Loudon Love, just signed an NBA G League contract. He will enter the G League draft on October 23rd, per Daniel Green of Green Sports Management. So Loudon Love, who of course really has been a mainstay of that Coach Scott Nagy era since coming to Wright State. I mean, Loudon Love put Coach Nagy and the Raiders on the map during this stretch. Loudon Love had that extra year of eligibility. He opted not to use it, and he's pursuing his NBA dreams. He's signed again that G League contract. He will be a part of the G League draft next weekend. So keep an eye on that situation, college basketball fans. But Loudon Love for Wright State, Ibby Watson, Jalen Crutcher for the Dayton Flyers, Obi Toppin already making a name for himself in the league. Pretty dang cool. Keep an eye on all of those. College basketball tips off in the not too near future, by the way. Practice is already going on. It's October 13th. The Dayton Flyers have an exhibition game with Cedarville coming up on Monday, November 1st. So that's just over 2 weeks from now. It's going to be 2 weeks from this coming up Monday. They'll tip off the regular season on Tuesday, November 9th. So we're just under a month away from that. They'll have UIC at the arena. 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the number to jump in on the conversation. We got Charlie waiting on us. Charlie, how are you, my friend?
Am I the ninth caller?
Oh, that's not how this works. You just you like the page on Facebook, right?
Of course.
Of course. So you're good to go.
I can't even believe that you're giving these new stooges a chance to win kids tickets.
That we're giving these what?
These imposter Justin Kenner Show fans, all they have to do is just show up, like your page for one day, and they get to go see Kiss. Are you kidding me?
Well,
Come
Charlie,
on,
let's
Justin.
be clear here. You're saying all these Justin Kenner Show fans. If Justin Kenner had fans, he wouldn't have to bribe people to like his Facebook page by giving out Kiss tickets, now would he?
You know what? It's not your fault. I'm gonna be honest with you.
What's not my fault? Nobody
great.
likes me?
I love your show. Hey, as much as I love talking trash with you, see, that's your draw. I know that you know that. But I don't know, man. And then I was just like, man, it's just giving out tickets. It's like so desperate.
So desperate.
Like,
I mean,
hey, that guy, you know who's gonna win those tickets? The guy who called yesterday and was like trying to throw you under the bus.
You saw that, or you heard that, right?
That's
I don't
about
talk
the
enough
Browns.
Browns. I'm like, all I get ripped for is talking Browns. We talk Browns
Yeah,
about an
he's
hour and a
gonna
half
get
of
the
the show.
freaking tickets. Yeah, that guy, he's probably gonna get the dang tickets.
And he said, he goes, I ain't agitated. I'm like, the hell you aren't. You sound like you want to kill me right now. I mean, my goodness. But Charlie, hope you're having a good day. What you got, man?
Well, man, I was listening to you talk about baseball and like, how do we get Mike Trout out there? Like, I just don't think it's possible because, you know, these guys are up to bat one at a time. Like, I just don't know how it works because just the best teams are a collective effort. You know, big stars are fun. You know, Joey Votto has been great to watch his whole time in Cincinnati, but we don't have, you know, 8 Joey Vottos playing out. It's just like, I don't really know how, and like you said, baseball only fixes things that weren't broke. And I just don't know what you could possibly do to help that sport. And honestly, the people who like it, and everybody else, I mean, I don't like, well, it is what it is. Like, I really don't know.
Well, you know,
like,
what's interesting, think about that Field of Dreams game. You want to know why that was the highest rated?
Really cool.
That was the highest rated baseball game of this entire season, and that includes the start to the playoffs. And my big thing on baseball is they act like the past was so bad. They act like the product, it just needs fixed. Well, it's kind of ironic that the one game a year that you gave to a throwback game happens to be your highest rated game of the year. I'm not saying that every game needs to be played in freaking cornfields by any means, but my point is how are you going to try and tell people that the way baseball has been played, you know, for centuries is so bad that we have to come up with all these ways to fix it, but yet you do this throwback game and all of a sudden it takes people back to a time when baseball was actually good and it made people feel good. People tuned in and they watched it. It was the highest rated game of the season, and it just happened to be a throwback game during a time that baseball is trying to convince you that the old way was no good. Kind of ironic if you think about it.
Yeah, and you know what I never really noticed, the thing that football really does well is they show you a story of a player, even before every game. You know, and like even people like me, like let's just get to the game. But, like, man, sometimes you just can't help but get caught up in these stories, like these personal, like these guys that just have all this. Like Najee Harris. How can you root against Najee Harris? Even though he plays for the Steelers. I know that he grew up in a homeless shelter.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They made sure that I knew that. So I'm rooting for a guy on a team that I hate. That's how good the NFL is at marketing.
Yeah, that, and keep in mind that's why that was the NBA's draw. It's why when you see the NBA. When you see the NBA promote their big matchups, it's never, tune in to watch the Lakers take on the Heat. It's always tune in to see LeBron James go up against his old team. It's, how will Pat Riley's Heat, who's a team president, by the way, not even an actual coach or player, but they use the storyline of Pat Riley and LeBron having beef to sell that storyline. It's all about storylines in the NBA. That's why the NBA thrives all year long, not to the level of the NFL, but the NBA does a lot better than baseball. Football, you're right. The Bengals and Browns play here in a couple weeks. It's going to be Baker Mayfield against Joe. It's not going to be Browns versus Bengals, Charlie. It's going to be Baker Mayfield against Joe Burrow.
Yeah, you're right.
They're not on the field at the same time at any point, but yet we're going to be sold on Baker Mayfield versus Joe Burrow versus Aaron Rodgers this past week, right? Like that's why football sells. You tune in every week. Hell, even when you're talking bad about the players, people are tuning in so that your narrative is wrong. I think Baker's really good. A lot of people think he's really bad. People tune in every week to either watch him fail or to watch him succeed, and it drives, it pushes ratings, it pushes interest. It's set up perfect. Cleveland is interesting in football. Cincinnati is interesting in football because of the players. Andy Dalton.
We're going to get a good game out of a player. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. But, like, the other thing that works against, like, everything that, like, these metrics and stuff, and you might even have talked about this, like, how much fun is the NFL with teams going for it on fourth down? And I know that's like a metric thing or an analytic thing. They're like, the odds are you shouldn't punt here. But it works so well for football, it makes it crazy.
But you want to know why football's smarter than baseball? Because analytics say that you should go for it on fourth down, but not every team follows those analytics. And you want to know the teams that do follow those analytics, they're the teams that have the personnel to do it. So football, they have the common sense. They have the mindset of, well, the analytics show that it's actually smart to go for it on fourth down, but we don't have the personnel. Our offensive line, we're not gonna get that push off the line of scrimmage to get that extra yard. Our quarterback's not that good, in these pressure situations. We can't do that. Teams know when to go for it and when not to based on their personnel. Baseball, you could be the team with 106 losses, and they're still going to continue to try to hit home runs. They could be the worst home run hitting team in baseball. They're going to keep trying to hit home runs because the analytics show that that's how you play the game today. Baseball is so boring because of that right there. Every team plays the same, good or bad. Football, there's so many different ways to win football games. That's why it's great.
Well, and it's almost like baseball is the only sport that forgot that you're really just trying to entertain people. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the point, It's like, yeah, you want to win, but we're trying to make money. Like, this is entertainment. And it's so hard to watch, man, sometimes because that's been completely forgotten. And I'm almost like, at what point is MLS, and maybe it's far off, I don't know. I don't watch soccer, but maybe that's a generational thing. But at what point are they going to overtake hockey? At what point are they ever going to overtake baseball? What if the MLS scored different, like if it counted for 5 points every time you kicked a goal, they'd probably take over baseball pretty quick.
Well, I've thought about that too before, because think about it. Why is football? I asked this the other day because there were so many missed extra points. Why do we have an extra point system in football? And the only answer I ever get is, well, because it's always been that way. But the concept of the extra point is so stupid. Like, if a team works their tail off to get a touchdown, put 7 points up on the board and call it a day. Why do they need to confirm it with an extra point that throws off a game? Now, you could say it adds exciting elements to it, but I think it's bad football. Look at this past weekend. That didn't make it exciting. Maybe open the door for an exciting finish, kind of. But to me, the big takeaway wasn't, oh, wow, what a game between the Bengals and the Packers. The takeaway was, man, can anyone make a damn field goal? Can anyone make a damn extra point? I believe you should have kickers for kickoff. I believe you should kick field goals. I just think the extra point's a waste of time. But football, you score a touchdown, you get 6-7 points. In soccer, you make a goal, it's 1 point, or it's one goal, whatever the hell you want, however they talk in soccer. I know nothing about soccer. Point is, you're kind of right. They'll never do that, but I mean, it is kind of funny how football does that. Can you imagine if football just went by 1 point? Oh, we got a touchdown. We're up 1-0. I don't think that sells very well.
Well,
and you got 25 seconds, Charlie.
Well, okay. Why? Okay, real quick, and you can answer this off air or whatever. Why is everybody turning on Baker Mayfield? I don't get it.
I just think, look, he doesn't look as flash. There's so many young quarterbacks coming in that look flashier, and that's the problem. He got blamed for that damn play call at the end. Everyone's like, oh, they don't trust Baker Mayfield. I'm like, so let me get this straight. They trusted Baker Mayfield to throw the ball on 2nd and 10, but they didn't trust him to throw it on 3rd and 10. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's a lot of other metrics and stats out there to show that the Browns coaching staff maybe doesn't trust him in those situations, but to say that right there proves it just shows people don't know football. Baker's not elite. I don't put him up there in the upper echelon of quarterbacks, but my goodness, he's not why they're losing. They gave up 48 points or 47 points. But Charlie, thanks, man. I'm sorry. I just got to go. Hour number 3 coming up. I'm bleeding into the 3rd hour, so I got to make up some stuff here, but we'll be back in just a moment. Real quick, Chad Kinster on Facebook says, I've said for years an extra point was stupid. Give him 7 and roll on. I'm telling you, I get it. I know at the end of the day, it's a thing, like it's always been that way. But the concept of the extra point is what? What? Why do we need to, why is that element a part of the game? All it does is when you make it, it's because you're supposed to. The extra point's not exciting. No one goes again, man, I can't wait to watch the extra point. Who cares? You go to watch the touchdown, not the extra point. Imagine every time in basketball, if you hit a 3, you had to prove it at the free throw line. That's dumb. Anyways, and by the way, football, I know no one ever complains that football games are too long, but just because they don't complain about it doesn't mean that you don't have to address it a little bit. Take out the extra point, score a touchdown, boom, ass to the sideline, kick off we go. The extra point to me is ridiculous. We'll be back in a moment.
Hustler Turf commercial mowers are built tough to work hard. Whether you need a fleet of mowers or are a one-man show, you don't have time for downtime. Hustler mowers are over-engineered, overbuilt, and tested well beyond what is required with the most complete lineup in the industry, including exclusives like a 104-inch Super 104, an 88-inch stand-on, and industry-leading warranties. Hustler mowers are ready to handle what you throw at them. Build your fleet to be reliable and versatile with Hustler Turf. Visit Small Engine Service Pros in New Carlisle today. KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris, Ohio has immediate openings for 2nd and 3rd shift production associates. KTH promotes from within, offers medical, dental, 401k, attendance bonus, and a competitive wage, starting at just over $19 per hour with annual increases. KTH will be hosting walk-in interviews Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. through 3 p.m. Please bring a resume and photo ID. Visit kth.net for more information. KTH is an equal opportunity employer.
Oktoberfest at Milano's has begun. We're serving our once-a-year favorites like schnitzel sandwiches and German pizza. Get it to go or stay for the games with NFL Sunday Ticket. See you at Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps for big screen football.
The NHL is on TNT tonight at 7:30 Eastern with the New York Rangers and Washington Capitals, followed by the Colorado Avalanche and Chicago Blackhawks. Watch every Wednesday.
Football fans, the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show is officially back. Every Sunday morning starting at 11:30 a.m., College Football Hall of Famer Keith Fyers and Justin Kinner will be live at Frickers on 741 by the Dayton Mall. The guys will recap the biggest games from college football Saturday, including your Ohio State Buckeyes. The guys will also get you set up for the day's biggest NFL matchups, featuring your Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, and more. It's the Sunday Morning Tailgate Show, live from Frickers on 741, Sunday mornings at 11:30 on 1410 ESPN Radio. WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. We're live. We're local. What are you going to miss? He struck him out. We're Dayton's ESPN radio station. Now, let's send it to the WING studios for Dayton's only local sports talk show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine.
back. Justin Kinner hanging out with you here on a Wednesday. No Kev Nash today. Kev Nash will return to the show for tomorrow. All right, we're live on Facebook. Head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show, jump in on the comment section. So I threw this out earlier. Yesterday, I threw this out to Kev Nash. We were talking so much about all the missed extra points. Like, all the missed extra points in this past weekend. There's just a lot of bad special teams play this past weekend. A lot of missed field goals, which what have you. Field goals, I believe, have a role in the game. I have no problem with the field goal aspect in football, and it's always been this way. Like, this is a conversation that I remember when Schlemmer and I did the show together. People thought I was crazy for even insinuating this, that I think that they should get rid of the extra point in football. What can anyone explain to me the role of the extra point other than it's just an extra point? But like, let's be honest. The only reason football, like, we're just so accustomed to talking football in its terms because that's just how it's always been. You score a touchdown, 6 points, extra points, 1. We assume that you should always have 7 points when you score a touchdown because you should not be missing extra points. I know they moved the extra point hash back, and since then you've seen more misses. But my thing is, you move something back to make it a little bit more difficult. I get it. You want to make it more of a challenge. But if it was too easy, it was a waste of time. And now it looks bad. So now it just makes the product look bad. You can't convince me that there is any benefit at all to having an extra point in football. None. Football, 6 points for a touchdown, whatever. You only make it 6 points for a touchdown because if you just say, oh, the Browns, Nick Chubb runs touchdown up the middle, the Browns lead 1-0. That's boring. No one wants to watch a football game that's scored by 1 point. Okay, not a 1 point game, but I mean, every time you score a touchdown, it's 1 point. So it sounds kind of foolish. Like, we get mad at the concept of, I remember when the 3-point line was added. Wait, so when you hit from that distance, it's 3 points? Oh, that sounds too sticky now. Well, now all of a sudden, the only way to play basketball is to hit a 3, right? If you can't hit a 3, you can't play basketball today. But at least that aspect of it, like, changed the way the game is played. The extra point doesn't change the way the game is played. It can maybe impact the result of games, but if anything, all we do is mock kickers. We make fun of kickers. I don't. I think that the kicking position, like when you talk about field goal kickers, look at Justin Tucker for the Ravens. You don't realize the impact of kicking until you don't have a kicker. Those who have a kicker, it's just, everyone has a kicker. No, not everyone has a kicker. And the teams that don't have a kicker are usually the teams that spend billions and billions of dollars on their offensive line, on their quarterback, their receivers, their running back, their defensive line, their secondary. They're beautiful. They're perfect. Their roster is amazing, and they miss a field goal or an extra point in overtime of a playoff game, and that's why they lose in the playoffs. It happens every year. So I'm not going to say that the kicker doesn't matter. The kicker matters. Special teams matters. Field position matters, and that all comes down to special teams, of course, being able to rely on, having Justin Tucker in late game situations. To me, at the end of the day, extra points, get rid of them. Get rid of them. You don't need the extra point. If they took the extra point out of football, would that impact how you watch the game? No. If anything, games would go a tad faster. The extra point in football is useless. It's pointless. There's no need for it. I have no use for it in my life. When I tune into a football game, there is no one. And by the way, everything's, the way we talk about sports nowadays is all in the fantasy sports terminology. Nobody cares about the extra point. I don't care about the extra point. Get rid of the extra point. The only thing the extra point did this past weekend was make the game look bad. It made the game look bad. It made the Packers look bad. It made the Bengals look bad, as if they need any more help looking bad. They don't need any more help looking bad. They don't need extra points going far left. I mean, they drafted a kicker that they bragged about forever, and I got a good kick out of that, by the way, because I got destroyed for questioning why the Bengals drafted a kicker in the draft. And then he goes, he makes a couple big kicks early on. Everyone loses their mind. They go crickets. They go silent after that embarrassing performance this past weekend, but I'll save that for later. Get rid of the extra point. So I don't know. So Doug Toby says, you would think the longer distance for extra points would cause less overtimes, but it doesn't seem that way this year. Yeah, because it's like when a kicker sees the opposing kicker miss the extra point or a field goal, it's like they get in their head a little bit. I don't know what it is. Very weird. I just don't think it's necessary. You need a kicker. You need to kick field goals, for kick a field goal for 3 points, what have you. That should stay a part of the game. The extra point, nah, get rid of it. Do you score a touchdown? Boom, 7 points. You don't need to prove your touchdown. You don't need to prove your touchdown by bookending it with an extra point. Lamar Shelley says it's called football. Maybe there's a correlation. It also seems to be an American version of rugby, and they have to have an extra point too, I think. I don't think you have to have anything. The NFL the NFL just proved this past weekend that they make up the rules as they go. Those emails that were supposed to be locked and hid away in a safe somewhere, never to see the light of day again. All of a sudden, the rules change. Roger Goodell, he makes up his own rules. They can make up their get rid of it. Doug Toby says the Vegas point spread. That's an interesting. Would Vegas care if they got rid of the extra point? It adds an exciting element from that end. I don't know. Not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. All right, it's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. Doug Toby, I didn't see your first message. My bad. Doug says, the only thing I could think of that makes it exciting is if a team misses and then later has to go for two, or maybe it's a Vegas thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess it opens the door for an exciting thing, but if you have to make your game look bad to create an exciting finish, that's what I don't understand. Like, I see what you're saying, Doug. Like that Packers-Bengals game was an exciting finish. The drama kept piling up because both kickers couldn't hit an extra point or a field goal. But to that point, I say, you know how much ugly football had to be played to get that exciting finish in overtime for the Packers to come away with the win? Like, to where if it was just the touchdowns punch for punch, it's a much different ball game. Yes, the field goal needs to be a part of it, but it is what it is. I appreciate the responses in the chat section. But yeah, I always find that fascinating to me. The concept of it just doesn't make any sense. We grew up watching football that way, so that's how it's always been. It'll never change. But for me, it serves zero purpose. It really does. Jake Mellon on Facebook says extra points do seem useless, but I guess serve a purpose for teams playing catch up. Kinda, yeah. I mean, every point matters, but it's kind of a given. When you score a touchdown, the extra points just, you assume, all right, for instance, your team scores a touchdown. Do you say, oh man, they just took a 6-0 lead? You say, no, they scored a touchdown. They took a 7-0 lead because you just assume they're going to hit that extra point. So I don't know. We'll see, but it's not going to go anywhere. I'm not trying to start this movement to get rid of the extra point, but it really is. I mean, we do high school football on Friday nights, and even the teams that make extra points, sometimes they're the ugliest extra points you've ever seen. High schoolers work too dang hard to have a specialized version of the game like that cost them games. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the NFL, you want an extra point, fine. You got professionals. You got guys that could do that. College, same thing. But I'm just not a fan of it. I'm sure there's high school coaches listening now saying, what the hell? This guy says a lot of stupid stuff. This might be the dumbest. But I'm just saying, high school football could be ugly a lot of times. We've called some amazing high school football games this year that sometimes the results come down to a one-possession game and a team will lose because they missed an extra point or two. And I'm like, those kids work too dang hard to have an extra point be why they don't win a football game. Like, I'm not okay. Then it forces them to go for two. 2-point conversions are more exciting anyways. If you're going to force them to go for something, why not force something that's exciting? You're paying these quarterbacks way too much damn money to just hand the ball off to a quarterback who runs into the end zone and then they trot off the field to bring some skinny kicker in to miss it, to shank it off the uprights. I mean, I'm just saying, like, to me, get rid of the extra point. 2-point conversions on everything. Ron Broadstock on Facebook says kickers union, I blame. Yeah, and by the way, that's a great point. That's another reason we'll never see that change, is because you're basically eliminating a job, and the players union would never go for that. Jeff on Facebook says, if your team is playing a higher ranked team in college or a better team in pro, if you say you're up 27-20 and the score, look, I'm not going to read all that, Jeff. Look, the bottom line is you could find a scenario as to why it makes sense, but those scenarios happen so few and so little. I don't even care if it's a game that the extra point doesn't have an outcome, doesn't have an impact on the outcome of a game. It's still, to me, useless. I don't care if a team wins 28-0. To me, it's still every extra point, the 4 touchdowns that had to be followed by 4 extra points. It just doesn't mean anything to me. To me, it's silly. It has no purpose in football. For me, football doesn't need any help being any more exciting, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean you can't tweak some things. Football is already super exciting. You score a touchdown, there's nothing better than that. There's more opportunities to have players run the ball into the end zone, for quarterbacks to pass the ball into the end zone to get the 2-point conversions. To me, that's just more exciting. That's all. All right. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. I got this message sent in to me. Let me pull it up. So we talked a lot of college football in that first hour. Okay, we talked a lot about that in that first hour, about the Bearcats, and apparently I've irked some Bearcat fans today. Real quick, let me read Ron's message on Facebook. Ron Broadstock on Facebook says, always fans behind the post when the extra point goes in. Maybe we're in the minority and all that. So, yeah, possibly. But, look, well, it'll never change. Just for me, my preference, I get nothing out of the extra point, and I don't think football does either. It's just one of those, it's always been a part of the game, so they keep it there. But yeah. So we talked a lot of college football in that first hour. I irked a lot of Bearcats fans. I could not preface anymore how when I say I believe that they should be in the playoff, I mean it. I do believe that the Bearcats deserve to be in the college football playoff. But with the way that the college football playoff committee handles their business, with the way that they view it, I don't know if the Bearcats would deserve to be in the playoff when it's all said and done. But I said we wouldn't have to wait till December for Selection Sunday to find out if the Bearcats are playoff worthy in the committee's eyes, and here's why. So I guess I can read this message to you real quick because let me see where this message went. I'm sorry. This is bad radio right now. I had this up and it disappeared on me. I can't remember the name of the individual that shot me the Facebook message. I'm sorry for missing your name if you're still tuning in. But he got mad at me and said I was wrong. He didn't give me an explanation. He just said, you're wrong. So I responded with, okay, what I'm wrong about a crap ton every single day. So you got to point me in a direction here. He said that I was wrong when I said that the Bearcats, if they're not in the college football playoff, in the very first college football playoff poll that comes out here in a few weeks, they have a 0% chance of making it. If the Bearcats are not in the first college football playoff poll, if they're not either in 2, 3, or 4, 1, 2, 3, or 4, if they are not one of the 4 teams in the first college football playoff poll that comes out here in a few weeks, they have a 0% chance of making the playoffs. A 0% chance of making the playoffs, and here's why. The Bearcats' resume right now is better than 95% of all the contenders for the playoff as we currently sit here right now. I believe that the resume is better. I think they have a better win than Alabama. They have a better win than Ohio State. They have a better win. Well, Clemson's irrelevant at this point. Georgia, I think, has the best resume of anybody. They've taken care of business week in and week out. Georgia is the most equipped to be the number 1 seed for the college football playoff. The Bearcats have the second most impressive win. Maybe Oregon does, but it doesn't matter. The point is, there's only 2 teams that can kind of challenge Cincinnati for who has the most impressive win at this point of the season. So that'll all change, though. Like Ohio State's going to have Michigan State. They're going to have Michigan. They're going to have Penn State coming up around the corner. They're going to have a like opponent in Cincinnati. Ohio State and Cincinnati, they're going to be butting heads the rest of the way. They have a lot of like opponents. Cincinnati is going to play Tulsa here in a couple weeks. If they blow Tulsa out by 45 or 50 points after Ohio State needed 4 full quarters to do so at home, that could be used against Ohio State when it's all said and done, right? Ohio State's going to play Indiana coming up here after their bye this week. If Ohio State destroys Indiana, they blow Indiana out, and they don't need a full 4 quarters to do so, that's going to not look so good for Cincinnati at that point, right? Because Cincinnati has the Indiana win, and they have the Notre Dame win. Ohio State has an Oregon loss, and that's about it. So right now, if you're talking about who has the edge, the Bearcats have the edge over the Ohio State Buckeyes. And in 2 weeks, so Ohio State will have Indiana and Penn State coming up here in 2 weeks. Ohio State blows out Indiana, takes care of business there, and then they beat Penn State. At that point, Ohio State should be above Cincinnati, even with 1 loss. Because the resume is, if you're going to lose, you need to lose to a top 25 team and a top 10 team or a top 12 team in Oregon's case. Oregon's a top 10 team. So if Ohio State's only loss is against a top 10 team from the Power 5, check, that's a good loss. If they are going toe-to-toe with Cincinnati for that, for a playoff spot, and they have like opponents, and you blow out Indiana and do it more impressively than what Cincinnati did, that's a check for Ohio State. If they beat Penn State, that'll be a better win than the win that Cincinnati had over Notre Dame. Boom, check for Ohio State. And then the fact that just Ohio State's more talented, better quarterback, better weapons on offense, collectively better players on defense. I think Cincinnati plays better team defense, but statistically you can't back that. No one's playing in an equal playing field. Cincinnati's playing a bunch of weak non-Power 5 opponents. The Buckeyes have a Power 5 opponent every week moving forward. It's going to be tough to dictate that. So I said that the Bearcats, if they're not in the top 4 in the very first playoff poll that's revealed coming up in a few weeks, they have a 0% chance of making it. Here's why. The playoff poll will adjust each week as the resumes for the teams get deeper and deeper. Ohio State's resume building opportunities are still coming up. They have Indiana. I don't think that's a resume builder, but it'll be used against Cincinnati, if anything. But they have Penn State, they have Michigan, they have Michigan State, 3 top 10 teams as we currently sit here right now, all on their resume or all on their schedule. Cincinnati has nobody. They have nobody worth bragging about. There is not one game coming up for the Bearcats that will increase their chances of looking better to the College Football Playoff Committee. So my point is, the Bearcats are not getting any prettier. They're that woman in their 40s. I'm being mean. I'm going to be in my 40s not too long, and I shouldn't even said woman. My bad. I'm going to offend some people. My bad. But yeah, they're just not going anywhere. Their prettiest years are behind them. That's all. The Bearcats, their prettiest years are behind them. They're not getting any prettier. They're not getting any prettier. They're only going to get older and uglier as they go. That's the Bearcats. Ohio State, they're going to be like Tom Brady. As they get older, they're going to become better looking. That's the Buckeyes. Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady was goofy looking when he first came into the league. Now, look how good looking Tom Brady is. That's the Buckeyes. They're going to get better looking as they get older. The Bearcats are going to get uglier as they get older. Their resume, of course. The Buckeyes will play Penn State. They'll play Michigan State. They'll play Michigan. They'll play most likely an undefeated top 4 Iowa team in the Big Ten championship game. My goodness, they're going to look nice and sexy by the time the season's done. The Bearcats won't have anything. So the prettiest the Bearcats will ever be is right now. So if the Bearcats can't crack the top 4 in the college football playoff in the very first poll coming up in a few weeks, if they can't make it into the top 4 at their prettiest, they're only going to get uglier as the season goes on, and their chances decreases. But it's hard to be taken out. Once you crack the college football playoffs committee's top 4, they don't take you out unless you lose. Can you think of an example of an undefeated team that cracked the top 4 in any of the playoff polls that were revealed, okay, and then were bumped out without losing? It doesn't happen. The Bearcats' best chance of making the playoff comes here in 2 weeks. If they're not in the top 4, they're not making the playoff, period. They have no chance. They have no resume building win. They have no resume building opponent coming up. None. So if they can get in to the college football playoffs top 4 in the very first poll that comes out in a few weeks, that's their best shot, because they're not going to get any prettier. Their resume is not going to get any better. They are at their best right now. They have better wins than 95% of the college football playoff competing teams. In a few weeks, they'll have a better win than 85% of the teams competing for it. So at the end of the day, it's really going to come down to the Bearcats needing to be in that very first college football playoff poll that comes out. Agree or disagree? I know Bearcats fans are mad at me. That's fine. But the Bearcats, this is the best they'll ever look. It all goes downhill from here. They're going to become more wrinkly. Things will become more saggy. They'll just be kind of They'll be wrinkly. They're gross. They're going to become more. They're going to become gross. Like the Bearcats, nothing. They don't get better from here. Their resume, the best work is behind them. They took care of business against Indiana. They beat Notre Dame. There's nothing else they can do. There's nothing else that they can do. They did their work. But everything they do now moving forward will be compared to Ohio State. It'll be compared to Alabama. It'll be compared to every team that's competed, even Oregon. Oregon's beat Ohio State. I said the Pac-12 is eliminated, but if Oregon goes on the rest of the way, you mean to tell me that a one-loss Oregon team with a win over Ohio State and a Pac-12 championship, you mean to tell me that resume is not going to tempt the committee to put them in over Cincinnati, even if they are undefeated? They only have 2 quality wins, and let's be honest, the one quality win they have is Indiana. Why would we count Indiana as a quality win for Cincinnati, but we won't count Indiana as a quality win for Ohio State? Think about how the Bearcats beat Indiana. They trailed for the majority of that game. Then they got the lead, then they pulled away late in the second half. It's not like they dominated Indiana. The score indicates that it was a blowout, but it wasn't a blowout. Like Indiana made it. I mean, it was close. Cincinnati had to work their tails off to beat Indiana. Ohio State will have that game wrapped up by halftime. Just saying. We'll be back in a moment. It's the Justin Kinner Show. Bearcat fans, let me hear from you. Agree, disagree. Head to Facebook. Leave your opinions in the comment section. If the Bearcats are not in the first college football playoff poll here in a few weeks, they have 0% chance of getting in. They are as pretty now as they will ever be. It'll only get worse from here. They will only become uglier moving forward because as everyone else pops up, it's just going to bury Cincinnati. So if they're not in that first playoff poll, they're not going to make it because they're not going to have any opportunity to impress the committee even more. That's all. Let's discuss. We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be partly cloudy, a high near 75. Tonight will be mostly cloudy, a low near 66. And tomorrow will be partly cloudy, a high near 85. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Introducing the latest innovation in water technology. The new Nebbia by Moen Quattro Showerhead offers 4 unique experiences to choose from, designed to soothe, clarify, relieve, and cleanse. An indulgent shower experience engineered to use up to 50% less water. Water designs our life. Who designs for water? Visit Moen.com to learn more.
Hi, John Glazer here for Glazier Soft Water. We've been making water great since 1988, and no matter what your water issues, we have solutions. Your city water can be clear, but still be hard and have the taste and odor of chlorine. Well water can look, smell, and taste terrible. Glazier Soft Water will fix your water and will even include a 7-year parts and labor warranty so you don't have to worry. Visit our website to learn more at glaziersoftwater.com. Glazier Water really is better water.
Looking for a career and not just a job? Then Dayton Progress is looking for you. Dayton Progress is the leading international manufacturer of tools and tooling components for the metal stamping industries and has immediate openings for their entry-level machinists. No prior experience is required, and Dayton Progress will train you, starting with the basics. They offer competitive wages starting at $15 per hour and up to $18 per hour with prior experience. New hires are eligible for merit increases after 90 days of employment. They also offer private health care, including vision and dental, free life insurance, a contributory 401k, promotions from within, company service recognition, and 100% tuition reimbursement to local state colleges. Dayton Progress is a great place to work and has been a Dayton landmark for over 70 years. Apply today by emailing your resume to jobs@DaytonProgress.com. That's jobs@DaytonProgress.com. Dayton Progress is an equal opportunity employer.
College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers here to tell you about OGW Energy Resources. If you own a home or a business and want to save money, then going solar with OGW Energy Resources is the way to go. OGW Energy Resources have been helping the Miami Valley save money by going solar for over 14 years. There is no better time than now to look into going solar. For more information, check out their website at OGWEnergyResources.com. Go solar today. OGW Energy Resources. Your energy, your future. Control it.
Elevate your curb appeal and protect your home with Menard's unbeatable selection of great roofing products. Built with beauty and durability, Atlas shingles add great value to your home while protecting it from the harshest elements with Atlas limited lifetime warranty. Save today with 11% off all Atlas shingles. Get 11% off everything now at Menard's. Good through October 16th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards. There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Your parents reached for Vicks when you were little. Now that you're a parent, Vicks Children's Botanicals Cough Syrup is what you reach for to help soothe coughs and clear mucus without drugs or high fructose corn syrup. That's because it contains natural marshmallow root and ivy leaf to help soothe coughs and clear mucus associated with hoarseness, dryness, and irritants. So look for Vicks Children's Botanicals Cough Syrup, day or night formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome to Parent Teacher Night. Oh, yes, Miss Garner.
If you have one of those airline credit cards, you're probably not earning double miles on every purchase.
You're right. My card only gets extra miles on some types of purchases.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles everywhere.
Wait, but where can we use them?
You can use Capital One Venture Miles on any travel purchase.
Venture gets an A+.
Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
There's a lot of confusion about how guidelines and regulations changing by the week. You need an accurate thermometer for your family to check for fever, the leading sign of flu and COVID. Only the Exergen temporal scanner thermometer has been proven accurate in more than 100 clinical studies. Non-contact thermometers have no scientific studies behind them and can miss the fever that might mean COVID. Learn more at Exergen.com.
What can give you a competitive edge in today's red-hot housing market? Rocket can. That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out. Rocket Technology provides a rock-solid verification of your income, assets, and credit, giving sellers greater confidence in you. Go to rocketmortgage.com or call us today at 8338-ROCKET.
A verified approval is based on an underwriter's analysis of your individual financial information, appraisal, and title report. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 23rd. Visit DEATakeback.com.
All right, we are back. Justin Kinner with you here on a Wednesday. Appreciate everyone hanging out. Look, I have no problem with people who have different opinions than me, and you can be mad at me all you want. Look, I get paid to come on these airwaves every day and give my opinion. It's the Justin Kinner Show, so I'm going to give my opinion. You could disagree with me, but some Yahoo just sends me an email. By the way, like, of all the ways to insult people, like, why do you send an email? You age yourself like by like 15, 20 years over everyone that listens to this show. But who takes the time to write an email to tell you how bad you are? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make it. I just don't get it. So some guy, John Burns, shout out to John Burns. I guess I appreciate that you're listening one way or another. He goes, you must be drinking, with a bunch of explanation points. Doesn't have any explanation. The headline is NFL extra points. He doesn't like my take on, that I think that extra points are just a waste of time. They are. And the reason I know John Burns must be drinking is because you're going to come at me and get mad at me for my take on that without any explanation as to why you disagree. The reason you don't disagree is because there really is no good explanation for why extra points should stay in football. There's none. And then you sound like those loser baseball people that say, because it's always been played that way. Well, get out of here with that mess. There's no purpose. The extra point is the stupidest thing in football. Football is a beautiful sport. It's perfect. There's not a whole lot wrong with it, if anything. It's an amazing sport. It's why it's the most popular sport in America. Nothing even comes close. There's not a whole lot wrong with football. So taking out the extra point doesn't make the game better, but at the same time, if you look at a beautiful sport like football and say, well, what does this bring to the table? What does the extra point bring to the table? So John Burns, appreciate you listening. Appreciate you wasting my time by me opening up an email that just says you must be drinking with a bunch of explanation points. You don't even explain yourself. I mean, I would love to know why you disagree. Just help me out. I don't care that you have a different opinion, but try to sway me. But clearly you don't have an opinion as to why it's good for football because there is no reason. The extra point is a waste of everybody's time. It is. And especially at the high school level. I have no clue why every team should just go for two. Every team should just go for two. The extra point thing's a waste of time. It doesn't make it more exciting. Extra point, if you go for the 2-point conversion, that's more exciting. Every team should go for two every time. Get rid of the extra point. It serves no purpose. The only time we talk about it is when teams miss it, and they miss it a lot because they moved it back. They moved it back because everyone made it. They said, well, everyone's making it. What's the purpose of it? Let's move it back so that it's more challenging. Well, why? If everyone's making it and you feel like it's useless to have where everyone's making it, you want to make it more challenging. All making it more challenging does is make the product look bad. Get rid of it. I can't believe I'm getting this fired up over something that I thought I had in my notes I was going to talk about for 5 minutes and move on. But if you're going to waste my time sending me an email, at least explain yourself. You might make a point that I haven't thought about, and I'll admit that, okay, I didn't think of it like that. Boom, off we go. But John Burns, stop wasting my time with pointless emails like that. Explain yourself. It's okay if you have a different opinion, but have an opinion. Don't just email me and insult me and then not even have an explanation. There you go. All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. So we're talking about Cincinnati. So Eric Acker. So let me recap real quick here. I said that Cincinnati has a 0% chance of making the college football playoff if they are not in the very first college football playoff poll that comes out in a couple weeks. What I mean is Ohio, the Bearcats resume building, it's done. They're done. There's no more they can do for their resume. They have to remain undefeated. They have to win out. Yeah. But there is not one game coming up that the committee is like, okay, if they beat UCF, now I'm a believer. Right? Like if they beat Army, then I think the Bearcats are on to something. No, the Bearcats had to beat Notre Dame and they had to beat Indiana. They had to be undefeated heading into conference play to be in the playoff conversation. They did that. But their resume is not going to get any better moving forward. It's you know what I mean? Like, they are not going to get any better moving forward. They are who they are. So if the College Football Playoff Committee doesn't view them as a playoff team in 2 weeks, they're screwed, because every other team out there is going to have big games, big matchups coming up to build up their resume. And the Bearcats have already done everything they can for theirs. There's nothing else they can do. So that's why I think that everyone out there that says, oh, the very first college football playoff, like when your team doesn't make it in the first college football playoff poll, everyone's like, oh, that first one doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Otherwise, ratings wouldn't be as high as it is. People wouldn't tune in. People wouldn't go to social media to tweet about why it doesn't matter. Usually, if you have to go to social media to tweet that something doesn't matter, it matters. Okay? Like in regards to interest, like I know I just said that the extra point doesn't matter. It does, like it has no impact on the game whatsoever. It's a useless thing to do. Who cares? But I'm talking about like when you talk about, when people like to watch something that you don't, you say, well, who cares about that? Well, there's literally ratings and analytics to show that a lot of people care about it. Just because you don't doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. That's how I am with this playoff thing, with the playoff poll. The Bearcats, the very first college football playoff poll, the Bearcats, that means a ton to them, and it has to. They can't say, well, if we don't make it this week, we have a lot of time to what? To beat nobodies while everybody else is beating somebodies? So Eric Acker on Facebook says, everything you're talking about right now is based on the fact that Ohio State wins out. If they stumble again and Cincinnati wins out, it doesn't matter if they're looking 40 or looking 80. Cincinnati's in. Eric, you're wrong. That's not true at all, because Penn State has one loss as well. And the winner between Penn State and Ohio State, they're going to be in the conversation. Like Iowa's in the playoff right now. If the poll came out today, let's be honest, we're talking about the best teams in college football. So the AP poll right now has Alabama as a 5. Do you think that if the college football playoff poll came out today that they wouldn't include in Alabama? Do you really think that Alabama is not a top 4 team in the country when you talk about the playoffs? So if the college football playoff poll came out today, undefeated Georgia would be a lock at 1. Iowa would be a lock at 2. Oklahoma would be a lock at 3. And yes, Alabama would be a lock at 5. I believe if the playoff poll came out today, that would be the college football playoff poll. Georgia 1, Iowa 2, Oklahoma 3, Alabama 4. That honestly, we do this thing in football too much where we try to talk ourselves out of the easy answer. Football is very simple. The team that is bigger, faster, stronger, that's the team that's the better team. It's a better team. If Cincinnati had the SEC schedule, they would have had a loss by now too. They don't beat at Texas. I'd take Texas A&M right now over Cincinnati. Cincinnati would hang with them. I don't think they beat them. But do I think Cincinnati should be in? Yes. But I'm telling you what I think the committee is going to do based on, the history of the college football playoff. And keep in mind that the college football playoff committee, the college football playoff poll, it has never mirrored the AP poll. What I mean is every time they release the very first college football playoff poll, it has never been 1 through 4 matching the AP top 25. And it won't happen this year either. So the Bearcats, if they do get put into the committee's top 4 in the very first college football playoff poll, they're set. Because no team has ever been in the college football playoff top 4 on week 1 that has fallen out without a loss. Cincinnati would not get bumped if they make the first one. This is why I'm concerned for the Bearcats, because the College Football Playoff Committee knows if we put the Bearcats in our top 4, we can't take them out. And what's going to happen is that's going to really put the committee in a tough situation at the end, because the College Football Playoff is about the 4 best teams in the country, right? They're going to fall. Are we really going to do this thing where we put our common sense off to the side to convince ourselves that just because Cincinnati's undefeated, because they beat Notre Dame. That's it. The only quality win that they're going to have all season long is Notre Dame. Oh, but Justin, the Bear Kittens, they beat Indiana. They beat the Hoosiers. Okay. When Ohio State beats Indiana, do you think that when we get to Selection Sunday, when the committee shows the team, like they always put the logo at the top and then they put their resume underneath and they put their biggest wins, why is it that Cincinnati, like this is how low the bar is for Cincinnati, Indiana would be the top win, the second best win for Cincinnati. Indiana would just be one of those throwaway games for the Buckeyes. That's what I mean by the gap between Ohio State and Cincinnati still exists. But you could take Ohio State out of it. Let's say Penn State beats Ohio State coming up. That doesn't take away the fact that you're going to have Georgia number 1, Iowa 2. Penn State is going to be in the conversation when it's all said and done. Oklahoma is going to be in the conversation when it's all said and done. One-loss Oregon will be in the conversation when it's all said and done. Alabama is going to be in it when it's all said and done. But if the college football playoff poll came out today, the very first one, Georgia 1, Iowa 2, Oklahoma 3, I don't know if it's Cincinnati at 4. Should it be? I'll give you that. I think it should be. Will it be? I don't think it would be, because the committee knows we can't put the Bearcats in there because then we can never take them out. No team has ever been undefeated and in the top 4 and then been taken out later. And the committee knows that they're in a tough spot here, because they can't look at an Alabama and say that Alabama would have all these top 25 wins. They're going to end up having 4 or 5 more top 25 wins than the Bearcats who have 1. And then say, oh, well, that doesn't matter. The Bearcats beat Notre Dame. What? You beat Georgia in the SEC title game, Alabama, but did you beat Notre Dame, who might not even be ranked by the end of the year? No, like Cincinnati, I don't see the committee putting them in. And the reason that's a problem for the Bearcats in the first poll is because nothing they can do after that first poll is going to be good enough to put them in after that either. I just think it's a dangerous situation. I think the Bearcats fans, I'm a little concerned. Now, so I disagree, Eric, that it's really not a Buckeye thing. It's really not. There you go. Chad Kinster says they do. I don't know what you mean they do, but since he won't make it, they don't have that money draw. Iowa certainly as hell is not a money draw, and Iowa will make the playoff if they remain undefeated and win the Big Ten championship. Iowa's an interesting storyline too. What if Iowa runs the table and Iowa loses by a field goal to Penn State in the Big Ten championship game? What happens if Iowa runs the table and loses by 3 to Ohio State, another one-loss team? Then what do you do? Like that, those are like, if anything, the Bearcats, you need to be pulling for Ohio State, not rooting against, because by Ohio State winning out, that means if Ohio State beats Penn State, you punch Penn State out of their misery, they're out of the playoff conversation. If Ohio State wins out and they blow out Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, blowout losses, you're not going to get rewarded for that. Iowa's out of the playoff as well. Bearcat fans are spending way too much time bashing Ohio State and trying to convince people that Ohio State's nothing when you really need to count on them being everything. Because if the Buckeyes really are nothing, you're in trouble. Because if Penn State beats Ohio State, and that's Penn State's only loss heading in to the Big Ten title game, and they beat Iowa by 3, and they return the favor, Iowa and Penn State might both get in. With Georgia, with Oklahoma, if they're undefeated and Big 12 champions, maybe even with the one-loss Alabama team. I mean, it's going to be a very wild finish. Ron Broadstock says, I think it could be good viewership. I disagree with that aspect too. I do not believe that Iowa's good view. I mean, I don't believe that Cincinnati is great viewership. Who in California is dropping what they're doing? People in California that love, their Dodgers, they love their Lakers, they love their Trojans, they love all these big brands. They'll tune in for Ohio State. Do you think people in California, a large viewing audience, is going to say, man, I got to drop what I'm doing to watch the Bearcats today? I don't think so. Now, I don't think that matters. If the Bearcats are worthy of being in, they're getting in. I don't think that the TV draw thing matters a whole hell of a lot. I understand why people throw that conspiracy theory out there. I just don't think that's the case, but we shall see. Mark Gardner, Gantner, on Facebook says you need the extra point. Okay, we're going back to the extra point conversation. Okay, fair. Mark on Facebook. Actually, I'll read this on the other side. I do got to step away for a few moments as we close out the show. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. But man, this college football season is going to be one for the ages, man. I love that Alabama lost. I'm actually kind of bummed that Oklahoma won, because how crazy would the college football landscape be had Oklahoma lost? That would have been good for the Bearcats, but Oklahoma coming back and winning, that was bad for the Bearcats. I mean, it didn't eliminate the Bearcats by any means, but the Bearcats really needed that break, but they've gotten a lot of breaks. The Bearcats have had more breaks as a non-Power 5 school this year than any other non-Power 5 in the history of the college football playoffs. We'll be back in a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Give your sweetie the priceless gold box this year for Sweetest Day, or get a special pack box of those favorite pieces. Don't wait until the last minute, so come and visit us. Shop online at EstherPrice.com or contact any of the Esther Price Candy's 7 locations to place a curbside order for pickup. It only takes a minute to make that special someone smile when they see their gold box of their favorites. So don't forget and place your order today.
If your family depends on your income and something happened to you, what would happen to them? You need life insurance, and SelectQuote can help you get it at a price you can afford.
SelectQuote found Jacob, 40, who's in excellent health, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $19 a month.
Not in perfect health? Don't worry.
SelectQuote found Tanya, 40, who has type 2 diabetes, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for only $32 a month.
We shop companies like Protective, Prudential, American General, and others to find you the company with the best rates. Give your family the security they need at a price you can afford.
For your free quote, call 1-800-519-0449. That's 1-800-519-0449. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-519-0449.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials. Your premium could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Monster Jam fires up the engines. The legendary Gravedigger, Megalodon, and more compete in intense competitions of speed and skill. This year's championship lineup includes world record holders who push their trucks to the limit. Experience full throttle family fun. Monster Jam. Coming to Wright State University Nutter Center, October 29th and 30th. Brought to you by BKT Tires and Direct Auto Insurance. Visit monsterjam.com for event details.
COVID is spiking again, and it's just not clear how to keep your family safe. Fever is the leading symptom of COVID, and the only way to reliably detect it is with an accurate thermometer. Be vigilant and be accurate with the Exergen temporal scanner, whose accuracy has been proven in more than 100 clinical studies. Non-contact thermometers are proven to be inaccurate and will not reliably detect a fever that might mean COVID. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Attorney Joe Cordell.
New school, new job, new home. Change is hard and can leave you feeling isolated. And divorce delivers one of life's hardest blows. The relationships you counted on are suddenly gone. But you don't have to walk through this alone. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has guided men through the challenges of divorce. You're not alone. Call Cordell & Cordell.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dayton area attorneys. 2689 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Takeback Day, October 23rd. Visit DEATakeback.com.
The Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
We only have a few more minutes remaining on the show today. I do appreciate everyone who has tuned in, whether it be on the air on 1410 Wing AM or, of course, on Facebook, on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Appreciate everyone who took part in the KISS concert giveaway, the KISS tickets, the giveaways for the KISS tickets. That's going to be at the Nutter Center this Sunday. Again, KISS will be live at the Nutter Center this Sunday night. It's the end of the road tour. For those of you who had your tickets for the September 6th show that got postponed due to COVID to this Sunday, those tickets are still good, so keep that in mind. We got that confirmation today. So we've already selected the first drawing. We have a second drawing for all of the new subscribers. We have about 6 minutes remaining. Head to Facebook. For all the new subscribers on Facebook, we will draw 2 more winners for the KISS tickets, a pair of tickets to see KISS live at the Nutter Center this Sunday night. The second drawing tonight will be for those who have already liked the Facebook page. Okay, so we appreciate everyone who tunes into the show, watches the show, has been a longtime subscriber to the page. All new subscribers to the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page will also get a chance to win more tickets. Just got word from our sales rep, too. We're getting more tickets for tomorrow's show. So keep that in mind. We'll have another opportunity for those of you who want a chance to win these KISS tickets to be tuning in to tomorrow's show. We'll have a new contest for how you can win those tomorrow. So be tuning in tomorrow, the Justin Kinner Show from 3 to 6 p.m. Like every day, like every weekday from 3 to 6, be tuning in. We appreciate everyone who hangs out with us weekdays from 3 to 6. Just a reminder, our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week features the Springfield Wildcats on the road this coming up Friday night. They'll be at Miamisburg. College Football Hall of Famer Keith Byers and myself will be on the call. Week 9 of the high school football season is officially here. I cannot believe it. I can't believe it. We're just 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from the playoffs beginning, and I cannot wait for that. But be tuning in every Friday night for our Glacier Softwater High School football game of the week, presented by OGW Energy Resources. The Springfield Wildcats undefeated at the Miamisburg Vikings. All right, that wraps it up for us. I appreciate everyone who hung out with us today. Mark, remember, we had the conversation about the extra point in football, get rid of it. I think it serves zero purpose. Like, if you really think about it, I know everyone right now listening is like, wait, what? That's dumb. Like, it's always been that way. I'm sure. I know it's always been that way. But ask yourself, what is the purpose of the extra point? Oh, it's an extra point. Does the extra point help or hurt football? I think it hurts it. Well, no, it helps teams. It gives teams a chance to. That's super. But did we look at it that way this past Sunday between the Packers and Bengals? Did we say, he missed another extra point? Man, this is exciting. Look at the opportunities it's providing for the Bengals. To me, that's just two bad teams not being able to capitalize on an opportunity that should be as simple as a free throw in basketball. Get rid of the extra point in football. It serves no purpose. I didn't say get rid of the field goals. Don't get rid of the kickers. You need special teams. You need punters. You need, kickoff return. You need to kick field goals, 3 points, all that fun stuff, game-winning field goals. Those serve a purpose. Justin Tucker, unbelievable. Those guys serve a purpose. The extra point is useless. It has no purpose. All it does is make the game uglier. Because when you make it, you're supposed to. Okay, cool, super. It doesn't add anything. But when you miss it, we don't sit there and say, because people keep telling me, yeah, but when you miss the extra point, it opens the door. It creates a more exciting finish. Then how come no one said that on Sunday? When the Packers, when their kicker missed multiple extra points, was anybody saying, I love when kickers miss extra points. It creates such an exciting game. No. When the Bengals missed theirs, were you saying, oh my goodness, this is such a great game. I can't believe it. The kickers are making this. No, we said it's ugly football. We were disgusted at the fact that kickers can't even hit an extra point because it's a problem. All the extra point does is it blend when they make them, they're supposed to. It doesn't add anything to the game. No one cares. But when they miss them, it's ugly. It makes the game look bad. It serves no purpose. Get rid of the extra point. There's no need to have the extra point in football. It literally serves no purpose. For whatever reason, of all the things I've said today, that's what's irritated people. That my opinion on the extra point is what has irritated people. I just don't get it. Jake Mellon says, man, I don't know. The last few years, anytime a Browns kicker missed one, that sucker came back to haunt us in the end. And that's fine. But you as a Browns fan, Jake, should know the Browns and teams like the Bengals, we don't need any more help finding ways to lose football games. And that's all the extra point does. It hurts you. It doesn't help it. So there you go. All right, folks, have a good night. We'll do this again tomorrow. Till tomorrow, the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine and OGW Energy Resources. Have a good night, everybody.